All right, this is December the 5th, is the second of our budget workshop this evening, so with that, we'll continue on where we left off Tuesday night, so thanks for coming. Do a roll call
Yeah, of course.
here.
Counselor Phillips.
Here.
Counselor Richards.
Here.
Counselor Pendergrass.
Here.
And Counselor Spring, we do know he's gonna be late coming in, just, he said that yesterday.
So we're starting off with Department 42-200, which is the fire department fund, so I think the spreadsheet up there.
Yeah, real good.
You gotta squint and tilt your head just slightly.
Look like a lost dog.
Building safety. No, use production. Okay, so, like we did on Tuesday night, I guess we'll just start off and go through the discussions line by line.
So just kind of like, we went through salaries, there's nothing in there right now, we did just get the payment stuff kind of going through, so that'll change here shortly once those get paid out. Cause again, this was through the end of November. I do know their salaries were a little bit higher this year for fire was a little bit higher. It was first responders that was more like 3,000-4,000 more, right? Fire was only a couple hundred. So that one is fairly close to what that is.
I'd like to make a comment too about that one on the fire. One thing is they do have training sessions that they didn't have before, so some of those are, whether the increase will be there also, or they're attending more meetings by doing stuff, so.
Also, our call volume is down. We had 12 this year so far versus 38 last year. So that number is, we're over at 12 calls. So if we have more, we will be over.
Okay.
It's whether you want to budget for that or you want to see the overage.
Well, my concern is how many do we actually need for staff members? Because as far as I know, we haven't gotten a number for that in the past years. So that's something that I think needs to be determined is how many actual staff do we need as a city?
We have 24 firefighters. The city code states we can have up to 30.
I understand that. I know what it states up to, but it's how many do we need? Because that's where we're getting into. If we don't need 32 firefighters, we don't need 32
We don't have
firefighters.
32 firefighters. We
I'm-
have 24.
I understand. I'm just saying, if we don't need the numbers, we don't need the numbers. So.
I don't get that.
I
Restate that.
What?
If we don't
If we
need
don't have the
numbers,
call
we don't need the
volume,
Numbers.
if we are overstaffing ourselves and end up costing more, I think the number of staff needs to be evaluated as to how many the city actually needs.
Well, when
One way or the other, it needs to be evaluated to how many they actually need.
well, no, what I'm just saying too is a lot of times if a fire breaks out during a day and people are working, there's only a certain number of people that are gonna be able to be that way for a volunteer fire.
I
To be able to do it and to respond to it, where, it'd be, if it was a regular job, it'd be a little bit different off of that stuff.
I understand, which is also why there's mutual aid. We get response from other departments as well.
What's been the average? I know you said it was big last year, 12 this year, but there's gotta be an average in there somewhere.
Usually upper 20s.
Upper 20s?
Yeah, I mean, 1 to 2 a month, maybe.
Yeah.
Or at least figure 25 anyway, yeah. Probably be a fair number. For how many calls per year, so. Maybe we could base some of our numbers off 25.
So you have 24 now.
No, I'm saying base it off 25 calls,
Calls, not people.
not staff. I think.
Just to confirm the 24 number, you have 24 right now, correct?
Yeah.
So at the beginning of the year, you had close to 30, 28 with your retirees,
No,
or you
No,
replenished the
no.
retirees in?
No,
I get cocky when we start getting low twenties, and then I get some people that leave, and I had a couple, and then I get up and I go, so I'm usually 20 to 25, so this is the highest that we've been for a long time, which is a great problem. to have.
It's basically a float. People are in and out and, you know, you have a rotation through there. I do know that. So.
it's the only thing I'm looking at, Jason. I mean, if it's my house on fire,
I understand.
I'd love to sure have people that are gonna be there to show up to put it out, okay?
I understand that.
You know, those are.
I also need to look at the totality of everything and all the calls, because it's not just fire calls we respond to, but I'm also curious, I'd like to see a breakdown of every call for service we've had, how many people have responded? Was it necessary to have everybody responding? Because if we're overpaying people to go to medical calls that where it's just a lift assist, that's a problem. So there's a lot more to that goes into it than just fires.
I think that they do have all that information available.
Yeah, I mean.
You know, so it's all there. I mean, they track all that stuff.
That would be great if it was
So-
communicated with me. There's been nothing reached out, so.
So that's something, that's information you need from them.
If that's what's needed, we'll be glad.
And I've tried to work on budgets with them, and so this is where we're at, is this, because I have gotten no communication back, so.
Well, I know from my understanding was the last, when we were doing the preliminary behind it, you called them in and I think they had an hour before the last meeting that there was to be able to pull all this stuff together and.
That's because that's when they responded. I tried reaching out plenty of time before that, so that's where we got the numbers.
So
That seems to be a discrepancy from what.
So that's-
everything-
I've got the emails to back it up, so
I'm glad to
Try
share.
and keep it on.
I'm not here to argue about it. I'm here, this is where we're at.
Sounds like it.
It sure does.
Yeah.
So that didn't change, payroll didn't change. The fire relief contribution, there was a double one in there, that one comes out. Still the 2% for retirement.
Well, now there's one, now that's an interesting one because that's an in and out. That shouldn't be, you know, a part of what there is. So they give you the money and then we turn around and take care of it. So that's an in and out charge. That's not where it's directly on their budget.
It is, having it in our budget inflates the size of our budget. That's why we took it out previously.
But that, you have to have a balanced budget in and out. Just like with payroll with the water sewer, it's in and out, but it's coming out of the payroll, it's coming out of the salaries for each.
Where does it go,
department.
where does it go into the fire department? That's what I want to know. So if it's going
Coming on the
out,
revenue side.
but the revenue doesn't show it as an in and out. It shows it as a straight expense for the fire department, which isn't true. So it goes into the city and comes out of the fire. That's not right.
I don't understand what you're saying. It's an in and out in the expense side. You can't have an in and out in the expense side. It would come in on the revenue side and go out on the expense side.
So it comes in on the revenue under the general fund and it goes out on their fund, but it doesn't show that they've got that coming in on their part for the revenue side. All it does is show an expense going out.
It doesn't.
So if it's in and out, it should not be there as an expense that goes against them.
I don't quite understand the thought process because the revenue comes from the state to the city. Fire department's with the department within the city. So there's the expense. So the revenue comes in and it goes, you receive that, right?
So the
Resolution.
2% money is collected by the state based on people's insurance policies. It gets deposited to the city's electronic. Then you tell us that you received it. We, as the Relief Association, not the fire department, give you essentially a bill, say, hey, please give me this, whatever the money is. Then you give it to us, we take it, we put it in a Relief Association special fund for retirement. So it's kind of an in and out, but it comes to the city and goes to the relief.
Yeah, and we've got a revenue side for it here. Fire state aid, $16,200 comes in.
Line
And
seven.
then comes out from the fire department, $16,200 for retirement. There's in and out, it's balancing the budget right there.
I'm wondering why it changed from last year, why we removed it, and now we're adding it back in.
Yeah, because this is looking at it as an expense and it shouldn't be an expense off of it.
Because this is from our finance person, Mike Bubani, who helped me put this together. This is what needs to be here. Because it is an expense for the fire department. I don't understand why this is a hard concept. It is an expense for the fire department, so it goes into their budget. It doesn't go into shops, it doesn't go into anywhere else, it goes into their budget.
I would say make a different fund and have it go somewhere else, because it's not for the fire department, it's for the fire relief.
So you can't transfer it from fire department with internal then?
What it's doing, Ryland, is it's inflating our budget. It makes it look like our budget is another $16,000. We can't do anything with that money. Because it's not ours, from a fire department.
But it goes to the retirement for the firefighters.
Correct.
So it is for the firefighters.
Yes.
Two separate
So,
entities.
yeah.
I just think that's misallocated. I think that's kind of a falsehood of what's really showing of what's going on for them.
I disagree with that. So
So let's take,
I will talk with Mike
I
Bubani
was
about
gonna
it.
say, let's talk with Mike and Bonnie, confirm with the understanding that it does come from the state. We identified as revenue. It's a fire relief expenditure, or it's a fire relief account that holds it for expenditures at a later time for pensions. Let's line 5, let's take that off the table right now, and we'll get back with emails or something before the council meeting with the clarification there. We'll follow up with Mike Babani. Okay,
I guess whoever takes that to Mike Lubani, I guess I'd ask him why it changed from last year where we did not have it in our budget and why it has to be this year.
I would measure as an oversight.
Well,
I don't know. I'm just asking. I'm not assuming anything.
I'm asking.
I'm just asking.
I'm just commenting. I don't know.
Excellent.
Nobody knows. Okay,
Medical services, 33,000, that didn't change. Operating supplies, 3,500, that didn't change. Come through,
Are you saying from last year to this year?
Yeah,
I'm
so,
saying
I mean,
the amended from the preliminary to the amended.
Oh, preliminary to the.
Yep, and then I'm looking at year-to-date expenses from, this is zoomed in, so it's really tough to, hold on, I can't pay attention to both these things here. Year-to-date expenses of 2024,
1661.
yeah, we're half of that even still. Well, this one, first one is 2,600 and the other one is 1,661. So,
What number are you on there?
And number 7.
number 7. Turnout gear, that is still set at 9,000 from the preliminary that was set.
So I do have something for you guys. I have a handout. We track our turnout gear. We track, when they expire, when they're manufactured and they expire 10 years. Should they be in good working order? No holes, punctures, rips, tears, burns. This is our current set of gear for our 24 firefighters. And you can see that 5 of them need refresh because they are over 10 years old.
And that's why this wasn't given to me before.
They're not asked for.
Okay, but you had it, you knew it was there, need to be done. This was from September. We could have discussed this well beforehand. Just for future, please make sure this gets to me sooner.
Jason, I would have gotten it to you sooner if we would have had meetings sooner.
I'm not gonna argue this stuff. I'm just asking, please get it to me sooner.
So looking at that for, normal turnout gear on that, that's about what, 4,500 per person that there is for turnout gear?
That's what it was estimated, yeah.
Estimated at 4,500 helmet to boots. As of January, it's going up 3%.
So that we're a little bit behind on that if we've got to replace 5 and we're only budgeted for 2.
so that 4,500, is that a quoted? Or is that just a typical cost?
That's, I mean, I can get you the exact quote, but that's what it comes out to. You know, boots are 500, helmets 400, turnout coats 2,900. 2 sets of gloves, another 200, 2 hoods, another 300, about 4,500.
It's better you're saying that to go from 9
Yeah,
to,
right.
So 6%, you said, Johan?
3%.
3%, sorry, 3%, so that brings it 4635. So that brings us up to 23,175. Did I do my math correct? In the 5 there?
Okay, 23,575.
23,175.
So that'd be for 5 sets of turnout gear.
Yeah.
we've been talking about turnout gear for a couple of years. Take it.
Yeah, it was on the budget. It was discussed last year too.
We're taking it and we're doing it in waves. But when we have to replace it in 10 years, it's not all at once.
That's fine. We'll put that, adjust that. I don't have a problem adjusting that.
So is this something that's certified because the ones that 2011 expired in 2021, right? 3 years ago, 4 years ago. So is that just a lack of planning from your perspective of getting it finally that we can respond to?
Some of it is probably OSHA being, right now, there's a lot of buzz around OSHA being a fine driven and this 10 years being a little stronger. I think we're probably not the only department that was probably pushing the limit on if the gear is fine, it looks good, it doesn't have wound tears, why are we replacing it?
Okay.
But now, right now, OSHA is going through a whole new change, and so we're trying to be ahead of it, buying boots, buying helmets, buying gear, really probably before it's war, but we don't want to be that case where somebody gets hurt, something happens, and they look and, oh, you have 11-year-old gear. You know, with the flood, we got a whole bunch of gear replaced. I had a grant replaced, but that was over 10 years ago, so we're kind of wrapped over.
Okay.
You know, in the future, we were talking about, we need to be stronger on gear rotation, truck rotation, equipment like SCBA rotation, kind of planning for these big expenses so they're not hitting us and we're having to pay 5 this year and 5 next year.
Right. And I know we asked you guys to do that over the past number of years.
Yeah, like we did some last year, did some this year, we hopefully do some more next year, get caught up, and then that kicks the can down, so then we can start again, 8, 9 years.
So they said that's 23,175.
Yes.
Hi, Daniel.
Snuck in.
It's not yet. Be sorry.
Does that include that 2,943 left over then, Jason?
Say what?
Does that include that 2,943 left over? In that 23,175? Is it 2,943 left over from last year, so.
No. We're looking strictly at next year's budget.
Right, but we got leftover money, we're gonna use it for.
I don't know, because
Paul,
we
we
gotta
got one
get,
more set of gear to buy this year.
we still gotta get through the end of the year.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna use this year's money on them to try and offset next year's. So it's one of those, that's why we try to budget for the year and we stay within that. So like I said, if he wants to buy another set,
If he needs it, they need it.
okay. Fees and memberships. That was reduced down in the preliminary, kept it here at the amended 750. Right now, there's $150 used to that, or as of the used end of November. Let's see here, next one, training, 10,000. Reimbursable, year to date, we've had 9,000. We budgeted 12 last year, dropped it again down to 10,000. We'll stay pretty close to that. And with it being reimbursable, you know, it's one of those ones where it's there to use, but it gets reimbursed should be reimbursed, so.
So last year, we were able to get reimbursed $4,800.
Something like that.
And then this coming year, 2025, we'll be
It's a
able
little
to be
six, it's a little over six.
just a little over 6. We have to pay it and then we get it back.
Mhm.
From a fire perspective, our budget perspective, we would really like to see that revenue come back. We don't know, I haven't seen any of that come back in TV.
We're being aware that it's coming
What
back.
are you talking about?
We're hoping that's coming back.
What are you talking about?
And it doesn't come back, but it's more of we asked Emperors to get it back and they do.
What are you talking? I don't know what you're talking about.
When you said reimbursable, so we do get it, a lot of it is reimbursable. It's just, again, it'd be nice to see that we are getting it reimbursed.
You'd see that in the changes, it goes month to month as it goes through in here. You would see that it would say, okay, there would be, well, this is gonna go down, but you'd see the reimbursables come in on the revenue side of where that is. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but yeah, we just don't see the revenue side, so that's probably
That's the question.
Okay, are you also tracking all this yourselves?
no, but I can look at I can share with you the website. You can go look and see, the
No,
reimbursement.
are you tracking your spending
Yes.
for the trainings and stuff? Okay, so you would be aware as to what's there and what's coming in. And then, as far as I know, when we do the council reports, the revenue stuff is in there, so that's usually there. And if you need questions about that, call us. We'll get the year to date for the revenue report. So. Okay. We moved property, auto and workers insurance, like I said earlier, all under finance administration stuff, so. For every one of those, you're gonna see those blank. Telephone expense. Kept at 2,000, lowered it a little bit from last year's. Still year to date is under. I just think those expenses are going down a little bit. Same with electricity, heating, gas and oil. Looking at those expenditures year to date from what was budgeted and to kind of where we're at now. Those were reduced from the preliminary to the amended just because, again, you're looking at, sorry, I'm trying to catch up here. Electricity, we're at just under 5,000 year to date. The heating, I know we're coming into cold months and every year is a little bit different, but we've used less than 1,000 for our heating, so took 600 off from last year's. And then for the gas, oil, miscellaneous, that one again was reduced down because we've only utilized less than 3,000 of that. Oh, I'm sorry. Repair and maintenance billing, that was kept at 12,000 from the preliminary. About on par with that for right now. Equipment, 6,000 was kept. Same with repair and maintenance for vehicles of 10,000. We go in general equipment, that one was kept at 40,000.
Yeah, on that one, I'd like to have that one come out of the CIP funds instead of being directly out of the fire funds. Because that's for capital equipment on the truck, okay, and that's what we have, that's what CIP should be for. Instead of being directly, against them.
At the advice of our financial advisor, the CIP is supposed to be limited use to none because of the wastewater plant.
Right, we
Like
use
pulling
it.
out $37,000 to $38,000 a year for the fire truck out of our safety net for the wastewater treatment facility isn't feasible. I agree, maybe in a couple of years that could be amended, but right now I think it needs to come out of here until we can get the wastewater treatment plant on square footing. And
You're saying the CIP fund is only for the water wastewater treatment? plant?
no, I'm saying that at the advice of our financial advisor, we were told to limit usage of that so that way it can help cover the cost of that for the next couple of years.
We also turn around and use the CIP funds to pay for, a computer program that there was for you,
I
okay,
understand
so.
that.
I think that this is very important to have it, and maybe we shouldn't be putting in 150 this year, we should cut that one down for the CIP to make the difference off of it, because at 40, I think that should become out of capital improvement. Because of the fire truck is a capital improvement expense.
It is, and the first 100, we talked about the cash flow analysis, and we've talked about that for several years, that was all part of a financial planner's perspective of a conservative new homes being built 10 year per year, I mean, not before, but the idea, that was, that was the approach we took with our CIP 3 or 4 years ago. That was the approach we went into. So the fire truck comes along and we need to keep mindful of what we need to do to support the operation of the wastewater treatment system. And
We know we brought 17 homes in this last year by what we did with River Bend. Okay, so we've got 17 new homes that have come in.
I understand that. You'll see on this spreadsheet, I also included all the 425 expenses, which is a CIP account that have been allocated from the fire department every time they submit an invoice for the year. Now, some of these are reimbursable, but total year to date out of the CIP, they've spent $154,000. Now, again, like I said, some of that is reimbursable, but there's about at least $70,000 to $80,000 that is not something that's reimbursable or grants or things like that, that is come out of the CIP already this year, that's been overspent outside of what council had initially approved with the fire truck. And that is just for engine 2. So again, putting that into there is taking more money from our reserves, which is not a good idea.
Well, those funds that the fire department took out of that 425 fund for that number had to do with, updating the equipment on the trucks and stuff too, so it's.
That figure is incorrect. When we purchased the truck, we purchased it for $300,000, right? We had asked the council to give us $30,000 to fix it,
Correct.
right? A couple things we needed to fix. We also asked for another $50,000 to outfit it, right? Taxes, Halligan's, other stuff. The fire relief pitched in $50,000 and purchased us brand new extrication tools at no cost to the taxpayers. If you look, and I can send you all the invoices and everything from fire safety, because that's who's been doing our work on our truck. We are $31,000 over for bringing that truck up to being able to be used. Not 150, 31 and change.
so the discrepancy, there's a difference in the number, of course, and we can.
Quite a bit of a difference.
We're on a different, we're on
Yeah,
two
it's
different.
not-
I'm not saying you're 150,000 over, Johan. I said you spent 150,000 out of that account. That's the difference. So I'm not here to argue that, and
Much
I've
of
got
that
the
was
facts.
approved, so I'm not really sure why that $150,000 should really shock us.
Well, it should, because even as you said, $30,000 over, that's still $30,000.
Better than 150. I guess my question is, what about budget surplus? Do we know what budget surplus is? So, because we're looking at this
We haven't gotten to
40.
the year end.
I know, but do we have an estimate?
No, I don't have the staff to do that yet.
So clarification on the
Then maybe we should
150,000.
approve this.
No,
I can
yeah, I
approve the
think
numbers that have come through. That's what I can do. And that's what I put forward in here. So
I think that 40 should still come out of CIP. I don't think that should go as an expense. And I'd like to argue
I
that.
do like the idea that what's been suggested is that we evaluate it year by year. There's no doubt we're gonna pay for the lease for the truck, the 38,000. But the idea that as we get into our wastewater system after year 3, 4, that requirement from the CIP is gonna drain off, and then we can consider the yearly lease for that, for the fire truck engine too. I think there's gotta be a compromise because we just can't.
Right, but you're saying the lease was 38,000 on that, Ryland?
38.5, something like
Well,
that.
why we got 40,000 pegged on it?
it's general equipment. They're gonna have other expenses.
Well, it's, if you got an exact amount for something, why do you round it up? That makes no
Actually,
sense.
taking our amount that we
It's
that we
general
have
equipment
covered
covers
the general, if you think about it, in the general equipment, we have
This, no, this
$4,500.
is specific truck lease payments,
and other traditional.
traditional expenses.
That's the 15, that's the difference between the two, $1,500.
Right, and right now in 2024, we have $4,500. So we're actually being cut by $3,000. And now we have a truck payment that is in our budget. Using money.
Okay, so I think that 40,000 should be under capital improvement. That's where I think
And I
that should come
spent
from.
12 years in law enforcement, and every vehicle that was ever purchased came out of the department's budget. So I have to disagree with that one.
No,
And like I
just-
said, I'm gonna leave it in there come December, if you guys wanna remove it, that can be a council vote, but I think that that's the fitting place for it and is gonna be the best for saving taxpayers as they try to get through this wastewater treatment facility that the city built, so.
Like I said, we got 17 homes that came in off of that one. I understand, but maybe we don't need to put that much into CIP this year because of what's going on with this stuff. So I still don't think that should be in there.
Donation expense, that's left at zero. That's been zero for a while. Look at community outreach. Reduce that down by 300 year to date. They've about $500 spent total. I know there's been some other ones we're going through right now. There was some other expenditures, but 1,200 is more reasonable. The apparel down to 1,500. Again, year to date, we're at $350.
Sorry, mine says 2,500 we have. Did that get changed between?
Yeah, it dropped it down to 1,500.
What line is that, Jim?
For apparel?
Yep.
Okay, so let's just say that we would like to outfit our fire department members with duty shirts, which is something that we require, not require, but request them to wear when we go on calls. We like to be identifiable, not just Joe Schmo off the street. Same with our first responders. We want to be identifiable.
You should be.
I think so.
Absolutely.
To look professional, you should be.
Yep. We say it's $25 per shirt. And I want to give them 2 shirts a year because they get torn, ratty, they get smelly, smell the fire, it's hard to get out. So let's say $50 per person times 24, $1,200. So that's nobody else saying, hey, I just wrecked my shirt. That doesn't include anybody that's coming
No.
new.
That's minimum.
You know, right?
So 1,500 that do? Leave it.
You know, we're not getting new jackets or anything for the fire department currently. That's on the members themselves.
To
We
pay,
have
to
in the
pay for
past.
jackets?
Yes, we
They want a
have.
jacket, they order it, pay for it themselves.
They are.
Okay. That's understandable.
Or baseball hats too, which are nice to have.
We're paying for all of that.
You know, so I can see, I think apparel is appropriate. What I have a problem with is that we buy 35 to, or 2,500, whatever the number is, previous years. We really
It was-
buy new
last year
shirts
was
every year for
5,000.
everybody. I can see new shirts for new people, but I can't see yearly apparel for the same number of for the ones that have been there, 1, 2, 3, 4,
We had
5
40
dollars.
That's customary. They're gonna go
Your
through their
shirts wear
shirts.
out?
Oh, yeah.
They'll go-
Yeah, I
they'll
gotta
go
wear
through-
shirts
No,
at
I
5 years old.
understand that. They'll go through those shirts. 2 shirts is a year is reasonable. That's fine.
We had 4,600 unused last year.
Citizens ask.
Remember, these were new items that we had for line items we didn't have. the
They're
year
not
prior.
everyday wears because they're, it's not like I said, not full-time as volunteer, but they're still gonna go through those. I'm sure they're more rough on them during their calls. It just happens. So.
Right?
Social gathering, kept that the same, a little bit over that amount this year. Conference, reduced that down in half. Year to date, nothing's been taken or used out of that one.
Well, that one normally off of that, and again, this is a new line item, if you look at it where we don't have a history behind it. We were trying to turn around and at least have, one person or whatever go to maybe a national conference that there is behind it. If you look at, air travel or whatever, just to go to a hotel for a couple days, that's gonna be pretty tough off of it. I think you said there was one national conference in Florida, isn't that
There's one
right?
in Indianapolis.
Or Indianapolis.
FDIC, which is, I don't believe anybody from our department has ever gone. It'd be,
Would that be the main one that you'd like to get, at least to send one person there to at least know and see what's going on with stuff?
send one, it'd be even better to send 2.
Why was there nothing spent on it this year? Why was,
Because it hadn't come up yet. So it was
So
put in the
they
budget.
don't do an annual conference?
So can we bring that 2,000 forward off that last year's budget?
Well, there was 4,000 last year, so I'm asking.
So it was new for calendar year 2024 and we just didn't send anybody, but it was a new ad.
we agree that maybe a little more in that to be able to send two people would be more fitting. Just airfare is expensive, hotel's expensive. You know, you have to pay to go to the conference, you know.
If you can get me a breakdown of the exact cost for that, we can look at amending that. I'd want the exact cost of airfare, hotel, what the cost is for the conference, per diem rates, all that stuff.
We can probably get you
Okay.
the,
No,
yeah,
yep, we'll do
the airfare will definitely be variable.
Yeah, but you can get an idea, and like I said, if you want to meet with me, sit down, I've already got equations for my conferences that I put together for my stuff, so. Just get a hold of me and let me know, we can sit down and look at that.
We're saying two people or one.
Two, that's fine, two is fine, and look at adjusting that one.
We leaving it at 2 or?
No, it's gonna go.
It's gonna stay at two for now, once we talk to them, we'll see where we're at and what the cost and stuff is gonna be.
Yeah, because you're not gonna be able to do it for $2,000.
No, that's, I'm thinking, yeah, you'll be able to do that for $2,000.
If we go back up to general equipment, if we have the truck payment in there for 38.5, that only gives us $1,500 for general equipment over the top of that. Last year, or this current year, 2024, we were budgeted what? $4,500, so that's getting cut. We're over this year, like we have been other years, and that's why we bumped it up. So why the cut?
Why the cut? Because no communication and trying to save the city money in the budget, so that's why the cut.
At the same time, we're trying to protect our firefighters.
I understand that, but when I don't have communication, I don't know what's going on. That's why the cut.
Same time,
I mean,
we
we
gotta
gotta look
work
at,
together.
yeah,
So,
So if you wanna
Well,
bring
then-
me numbers of stuff, what you're expecting for next year for general equipment, we can look at that and try to amend that. But I need to know numbers of what you're looking at for general equipment. Not just we went 6,000 this year, let's put it at 7. Well, what are we gonna use that for? The people wanna know what all their expenses are going for. So I think it's reasonable to ask for.
Gloves? You wanna know every time I buy a hood?
I think it's reasonable to ask for what it's gonna be used for.
That's what it's gonna be used for.
Well,
Dan,
I spoke
Dan,
2 weeks ago at city council at why we're talking or renewing a CETA contract when we haven't seen what has been put for for what's been going on this year. There's $32,000 right there.
and we're talking about the fire department right now, so.
I would like to see that type of money go into the fire department because I know what the fire department's doing for our town and the first responders.
Well, right now, we're talking about the fire department, we'll get to FEDA when we get to CETA.
Great.
Okay, thank you. So, go on, like I said, if you wanna put something together and show it, present it to me, we can talk about it. I'm fine with that.
Should we put that at 41.5 for right now? They are gonna be using gloves and stuff throughout the year. That way they got 3,000 to work with anyway.
I'm gonna wait till I know what number he's got and put it in, adjust it and have it for December. For the meeting.
can you get that in time for that, you think?
It is, it's variable, right? But we can do our best.
Take a stab at it, at least, you know.
So the intention then, Jason, is to go through this entire budget at the December 17th meeting too? Page by page, line by line?
No, the intention is for me to adjust everything that we've talked about and present it, so. Okay, you'll see in the SCBA stuff, took all the amended, where we moved, reduced from preliminary to amended and dropped that into there. So there's an extra $5,800 that was actually added back to that. I reached out and I talked with the company. Clary, yep, I spoke with Jay Clary today. about pack stuff. There's a few different options that he told me about. So right now, we're renting the packs for 120 at a base rate per pack for an unlimited time. It's a short-term thing.
That per month?
No, that's just a base rate per pack, because it's, is to get us through the next few months, as a favor, the local, local business helping out a local community, which is great. I'm happy for that, really excited for that. Looking at the packs that we'd be renting, they've got 5 years left on them roughly. Talking with Jay, was curious if we would be able to rent those packs out for the remainder of their term, which would allow us 5 years to start setting aside money for the fire department to then purchase all new packs and gear and stuff like that. So when you're looking at that, the breakdown, he said, he's again, selling about 2,400 a piece. You're looking at $36,000 we need to have for those packs. Or I did ask him about doing a rental price per year, breaking it down per year. You're looking at $480 a pack times 15 packs, puts us at $7,200 renting them per year, which is a much easier pill to swallow for the city, cost wise, than $100,000+ to get all new packs this next year. With that, I do know there's a 5-year time frame window with the standards. So we would evaluate that as we get closer to the 5 years, because we want to purchase the packs within that 5-year window. Whether it's back to back, we do like a 7 and 8, 7 1 year, 8 another year. But this way we purchase them so all the equipment lines up and we're not potentially facing problems like other fire departments where we're now into a new 5-year cycle and parts may have changed. So that's something that, like I said, with that rental gear for the year, the 5,800, would need to come up with a couple thousand more to help cover the cost for renting those packs out as a solution while we continue to save up each year and build the future budget for the fire department to make sure that they've got those expenses ready to go when it's time to purchase those.
So a couple of comments on that. We have 22,000 and change, I think, in our current budget for 2024 that we have not used. Then those were for Scott SCBA air packs.
That's
Remember
what
we
they
did,
were for.
Yep, that's
Was
what
that
they were for.
multi?
it was
Township,
the regional grant that we try to go for. So that was gonna be our 10% of the SCBA's and a brand new full compressor system.
Mhm.
That brand new full compressor was a Bauer compressor for $80,000.
How much?
80,000.
But we only needed to have the compressor for this one, so,
7 for about 20, yeah.
okay, which is,
Because there's 3 pieces to a compressor system. So we did not get the grant, but we have 22,000, 23,000 and change sitting in our current budget
That we could use.
that we could use if we purchased these. And actually, I spoke with Jay after Jason called him, and Jay was a little concerned that our city administrator said that the fire department hasn't been doing a good job of maintaining their packs and maintaining their.
I did not say that it's
And
false.
Jay said,
Please stop lying, Johan. I did not say
this is
that.
what Jay told me.
And I
Jay
did not
said-
say
Jay
that
said
to him.
that,
Hey, I'd like
actually,
to
it
keep
wasn't.
this focused on the budget.
This is not allegation. No, it's allegations that are false.
Cell
I'm not
phone
gonna
calls.
take it.
no personal telephone call. Kentucky.
I can tell you
Jay-
exactly
Jay
what I said to
that
him.
it was not actually on us because unfortunately Honeywell, the ones that we have, our
Mhm.
packs went and got uncertified. So they're not NIOSH compliant. And now, which was completely news to us. And they aren't maintaining them and you can't get parts for them. So,
Honeywell's not?
yeah, that was Honeywell. So Scott is owned by 3M, so hopefully they don't go under. So if we would take $23,000 and put it towards that, maybe we could budget some money to purchase the rest of them. I mean, we could pay the bill and maybe parts or whatever. So we would have 15 packs, 30 bottles, 26, 28 masks. And actually, they're good for more than 5 years. The bottles are good for 10. So that gives us 10 years now, if we purchase them now, to build up our fire department CIP for purchasing large equipment.
Johan, you would need the other parts of that though, are those still the same life expenditures? Or are they gonna expire sooner?
Nope, they'll be there the same as the bottles.
So if you're looking at that, we spend the 22. That's there, and originally you were looking at,
Be 14,000.
so you need about 17,000 then, is that what I'm figuring out to be able to turn around and then we would have those? And those would be good for 5 years, but the bottles would be good for 10.
We need about 7,000, so if we use the rest of this year's budget to start purchasing them. And then use the remainder 5,800 for next year's budget, if you calculate that in there, we're looking at $7,650 we'd have to make up to get the full purchase.
And then it would be done for the next 5 years
Yeah.
at least, and I think that might be a good way to do it, and then we've got 10 years on the bottles.
Well, we for sure got 5, if we can start getting them whenever the cycle is. I don't wanna play around and end up with 2 cycles and have that problem. for you
Yeah,
guys.
I agree with
Yeah.
Jason, definitely.
That'd
We
be
wanna
nice.
stay on the same cycle.
Like, I don't know if you understand that, so the parts are on a 5-year cycle per the standards for the national whatever. So every 5 years, something gets updated. I think this year Rochester kind of got hosed. They've got 90 packs that don't match up with the newer standard, so they can't just one part and they're different now. So it's kind of one of those things I don't want, luckily we don't have the numbers they have, so we don't have to.
Not like cars where they force them to make parts for 20 years after
Yeah.
they.
So if we can get them within that window of that 5 year, get them all within that, hopefully not purchase them at the same time, but at least get them within that 5 year window. We can, maintain those for quite a while and not have issues. But I think the 5 year plan, trying to talk with them for those 5 years of getting the packs at that price that we were using is gonna be the most.
Well, the big
Financially
question,
sound.
the big question I have about that is who says in 5 years they're not gonna change the whole program all over again and here we are laying back in the same
We
position.
don't know, but again, Scott is well-known, has never had we had Scott before we had Spirion. Everybody, almost all of our neighbors have Scott, people that don't have Scott or they have Scott today are buying, new Scott, so Rochester Fire.
We just got the odd ducks to start with.
We had it, Hayfield Fire had it, a couple other departments had it, Chatfield had it, just. Honeywell didn't wanna be in the business anymore, so they got out.
So do we need to make a motion to add that money into it, or how do we do that?
This is a budget workshop. There's no motions, no decisions.
So you're gonna try to
I'm
increase that?
gonna try to find,
78?
if the council's okay with that, we can sit down and we can try to figure out a contract. We gotta make sure that the company's willing to do that and work with us on this, and, if we can break up the payments and do that, then that's something that we can do, but there's a lot more moving parts behind it that we gotta make sure get lined up, but we can try to find that money, that $7,600.
Does that come out of
Well, you got
if
4
the
grand.
truck is going out of this account?
Weren't used.
So the last council meeting, I think it was, I thought we were discussing the 22,549 to be used to buy a compressor.
You told us no, so we, with the relief, ordered the compressor and we're gonna pay for it.
So the compressor's done,
Yeah, so we're taking care of
That
that
was
compressor. But the money that was there for the compressor / packs is still there, so that's why we're suggesting that it could be used to purchase these used packs to get us down the road where then we can save money to then buy kind of new pack.
So, you're gonna try and work out something package or proposal
We've got
before
one.
the 17th then?
We've got unused lines in here that we should be able to cover.
To answer your question, yeah, we'll
Figure it out.
I'll work with
Yeah.
you, Terry, to figure that out.
Pager communication equipment, that one stayed the same, 16,500. That's up from last year, 3,000.
Yeah, we were actually just, on that one, we reduced it down last year for what they wanted, but I think that 3, and then you're working on some grants too.
Yeah.
That will help off of that to try to get that up.
Yeah, it's gonna help us.
Yeah, the pagers, pagers are expensive, but,
Oh, yeah.
but the pagers are something that
Needed
is
equipment.
needed for these guys, okay? Yeah, it's not like a simple pager you used to get, these are the ones that with the different
I know.
frequencies are, yeah.
I'm aware.
So I noticed that you have some staff that are their spousal staff or same home staff. Do they both need pagers if they're not gonna be able to respond?
Have the, actually,
Yeah.
like, if their spouses, they use it one.
They have one to share. Okay, so that can,
Yeah.
that's factored into your estimate. All right, that's good.
Yeah, we 12 in two departments that don't.
15, I don't know. I do have the numbers here.
Yeah, like, so we're trying to get everybody a pager.
Yeah.
We don't. And then we're trying to refresh the radios, so, yeah, thank you.
And then their auditing services 2,000. Put that in there as well. You guys,
Did we talk wildland here? That line item?
Really didn't.
Let's just finish. So auditing services, just to make sure everybody again is a reminder of this. So the city has to audit the Relief Association. And so there's a fee to that. And I think every 2 years, it's a full audit. Every other year, it's like a simple audit. And so we agreed at the fire department to carry that line item for the audit that the city pays for auditing the relief. So we pay to audit our Relief Association funds, and then the city pays somebody to audit because that helps you with your bond rating. So this happened a couple of years ago. It's kind of I carry it, but you guys are paying for it. I know, it's.
Yeah. Government, Henderson talking about.
yeah, what's your question, Johan?
Wildland gear, or other types of gear. Right now, we don't have wildland gear, or a little bit of it. And one thing we don't have is like swift water rescue. We have cold water rescue, like what happened in, Iota the other day, and like we would be able to respond to something like that because we have the gear for that. But we don't have it for swift water. So one of the things that the officers were talking about, dribbling around was, it'd be great if we had 4 sets of, swift water rescue gear, because we do have rivers that run through our town. That comes out to $7,000 for 4 sets of gear.
Our original ask last year was to try and get wildland gear, jacket and pants, and that got cut. We didn't spend any money this year because we, of the gear, just, how do I pick who to buy gear for? So that's why we're thinking maybe alternatively pivoting that item.
And how much time would it take for Rochester to get up here, if it was a swiftwater rescue type
We had our
situation?
first call, yep.
So time wise, what would that be for,
You're talking 10, 15 minutes probably.
they would be at Lake Zumbro,
Oh,
or they would be over the dam and heading down past that?
Well, by then you'd be calling Mazeppa.
Johan, you said 5 of those gears is 7,000?
4 sets.
Four.
of seven.
Four sets, okay.
So are these,
Those are specific to a person, so you're gonna have to decide who to,
No, they're actually not.
okay.
Small, medium, large, extra large.
So,
it's not something we're gonna put names in the back of either.
I mean, I look at this with the remaining money, if you haven't used it for the wildland gear, why not talk about using this year's to purchase 3 sets of the,
I can try to do that, like what I was looking, if they just come in a set of 4, like they don't offer you one set. They said offer you a set of 4, so that's why I said 7, but I can see what I can do,
yeah, I mean, that would be.
definitely.
let's talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, cause I think there's some, I mean, if you're not using that for that, we can. Yeah, let's talk about that. Cause I think that'd be a good use of that. I mean, it's gear, clothes, you're just going from your wildland to your swift water stuff. It's land gear to water gear, but
You think if you had 3 set 3 and 3, it'd probably be about right anyway, wouldn't it? There's not very big chance of the whole department's getting in the water.
Oh, no, yeah.
no, but I think
Not
4
for
is a
swift
good.
water, no, you're gonna get down the river.
Exactly, 2 or 3 sets for all of
Put on
us.
standby.
Yeah, well, and if you're putting
Somebody
2 out
else
there,
roll,
2 out
somebody
there,
roll.
yeah. I've done water rescues with when I was in law enforcement and helped with that in the winter time, and yeah, 4 is a reasonable number for that. So. You know, I don't want any less by any means, so they talked about that one too. Okay.
All right. All right, fire department?
First responders.
Next one. Okay, again, 15,000. We were waiting for the numbers at this one as well. I know this one came over. I think there was a lot of extra trainings as well. I don't know what calls are at for this year, Johan.
We are one above last year to date. So to the end of November. So we are at 156 calls to the end of November. So that's up 1 so far from last year. That's it. Very similar. Last year it was 172.
Percentage wise from township,
83% township and the rest of us.
So that didn't get didn't get touched from the preliminary. We left that at 15,000. Which keeps your payroll taxes the same as well. Medical services was left the blank was unused from this year. We've got office supplies at 400. That was budgeted for last year. I think we just need to make sure we're watching that. We're a little bit over that this year, but within reason. Operating supplies of 4,500. That was from last year. This year to date is 3,000, so relatively close. I feel comfortable leaving that there. Dues and memberships, 2,000. Down from last year, but year to date, there's nothing under the dues and memberships. So still keeping that at 2,000, I think is reasonable. Training, 8,000 to help cover the cost. I know we're up as of end of November, it was closer to 10,000, just under 300, under 10,000. With your training for that, is that internal house training or is that?
No, it's
Yes.
it's external and internal, but
Okay.
that was because we had a huge bump of new people and we've actually stopped recruiting. So that should be a lot better next year.
You've stopped recruiting?
Yeah.
First
First responders, yeah, we
Sure.
How many's on first responders?
25.
26.
26.
Auto insurance and workers' comp insurance, again, that was moved and covered under the finance administration. All insurances were telephone expense, 550, that was
The iPad.
Yeah.
left. We're under that. We're about 450 right now. Next one, the electricity, 450. Year to date, it doesn't have anything. I don't know why. That's probably just putting it through.
It's supposed to be a split between departments, so.
Yeah, there's like a 6% split or something weird like that.
That
So
is weird, but whatever.
I don't, yeah,
6%?
I don't know why.
no idea. Yeah, we were going over that today. I have no idea how that 6%
One
came
day.
up.
Sounds like.
They don't get to park inside. It's the residual heat of the building.
So, heating again left at 300. That's up a little bit from last year, just to help cover. You never know what winter's gonna do. Gas and oil, 1,100. We're about 1,000 this year. If calls are going up, we need that for gas and stuff like that. So that's where we're at with that. The, repair and R&M equipment, 1,200. This year we're 2,000. I don't know what.
So we're,
right, that was the oxygen tank thing you were talking about, so.
so previous years, we got our oxygen tanks refilled by Mayo Clinic and they don't do it anymore. So this year was the first year of us renting. And we think we have too many bottles that we're renting, so we're gonna drop that down. So we think calendar 25 will be a lot better.
Who do you rent from? Praxair or Mississippi or something?
We do Lindy over by the fairgrounds.
Okay, yep.
So we were comfortable keeping that 1,200. Hopefully get that down.
So repair and maintenance vehicles, Again, 2,000 that was left there. The general equipment, 6,000. At 2,200 this year. Now, I don't know if you wanna move some of that over to the fire department side of things, but, that's still. It was 6,000 last year and they're only using a quarter of that. Although I do know that there was expenses from the 425, but I think that had to do with the truck purchase. So, I don't know.
EpiPens are gonna be coming due.
Okay,
So unfortunately, we keep everything up to date.
Do they pass that off?
yeah, you're kind of required to.
No, we don't bill any patients, so we have to buy an EpiPen. If we never use it, it goes to waste. But it's the cost of business, so we try to keep one for peds, one for adults. Same thing other meds. We try to be very frugal of
Sure.
not having a lot of extra.
I get it.
Next one was the miscellaneous generator maintenance was listed on here for 500.
I've always asked that that's not in our, it should only be under EOC. So we shouldn't have anything generator in any other budget.
Okay, well, I'm still okay with the 500 for miscellaneous. We can just,
Well, there's
it was in there.
No, we have that under the general, generator contract, don't we? On
Contract
that
for-
one for,
five generators at $750
yeah, cause
a piece.
we went as a blanket
This is,
one.
this
for
is
3 years.
just for them. I don't know if that was one before my time.
Yeah, no, there was,
Kane would know,
yeah.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
Cause I
about
think we
Kane.
got one that's there, so that should be covered.
Yeah, that's a good-
and that's fine. Like I said, it was just something that was left in there. I think
Yeah,
that's why I asterisked it, because I was like,
I know, it got added, I asked, you're right.
It shows 1,040 that was used, but.
So with that, how often do you run that generator out there?
So it runs every Thursday, it exercises every Thursday.
Okay, so how about the diesel that's in there? Do you have to?
It's
drain
natural
that?
gas.
Natural gas, okay.
And it's a
Okay,
GM,
that-
it's a GM car motor, so that's why each year it's serviced kind of like a car. And I actually tried to shop it around to see if I could do something better than the 500-600 they charge us, and they're like, okay, go somewhere else. And then if it doesn't work when you need it, then you're kind of out of luck. So we're like, okay.
Are we talking the same generator?
Yeah, the one that's on the side of the hall.
Well, it's on the
Yeah.
west side of the hall.
Yes,
Yeah.
on the side of the hall.
Okay. I thought Ziegler was on servicing it.
It used to be Pine Island, then it got bought by somebody else, so.
But I think that one was under our contract that we had for all the generators. that we
Yeah,
had.
now, at the time, we only had the one. Now we have multiple generators.
Yeah. Okay.
capital outlay, that was left blank. Been like that for a while, it looks like. First responder outreach, 1,500. About half of that so far this year. I don't know if you want to reduce that if you're not recruiting as heavily with the outreach stuff or comfortable keeping that.
Things we talked about, Jim?
Yeah, the outreach is different than recruitment, but, like we put on CPR classes for the, community and
Well, I think that they do a really, really good job, off of that stuff and for grades and everything else that way that goes along with it. And also for T-ball, what they do, that they're out there supporting that. So I think that,
Yeah, like I said, you're at half of this year, but I'm not gonna.
I'm fine, yeah.
So, same with the recruitment was 1,200. That was untouched, looks like.
Yeah. That can go down.
that can go down.
Yeah, because we're not gonna.
Move that somewhere else.
Okay, would you like to reallocate
One
that
question
into
about-
fire somewhere? Okay, how
Question about
much
the-
are you thinking? Sorry.
Question about the apparel then,
Oh,
The
so
1,200
let's
remaining.
finish recruitment.
is that something you can still use, buy it this year? So
Yes.
Keep
we are
that
gonna-
1,500 less?
well, I wouldn't take that out. I'd leave it in there, but let's see what they can do. 'Cause I mean, they went into an SD call, I guess, a week ago or whatever else, and the minute you do that, you're gonna throw those shirts away. You're not gonna go and wear bloody shirts and,
We'll just say there's blood all over. I have blood everywhere.
so I mean, that's, you almost have to have those guys looking good if they go into a medical call.
Could they buy some this year?
I laugh because some of our small towns have seen guys.
but I don't
So-
up.
Like, I've seen them show like flannel, like Christmas pajamas before, and a small town, it is what it is, sometimes I get it, but.
Well, throw shirts away, they don't have a you know.
No, I mean, if you turn around and if you're in a bloody situation that way, I don't think.
I
you wanna-
understand that, you're gonna change shirts before you go next.
No, but I don't think you really wanna go home and wear those, you know.
I understand that, but we have, there's what they call textile care services, they clean all of the hospital stuff.
I don't know if we've
I
had
think
that service.
those are made a little differently to go through that sterilization process
Oh, I-
versus a t-shirt that, I don't know if you're getting them locally or ordering them online or what, but, yeah.
I understand that, but maybe this could be
Yeah,
just.
yeah, so you got some
It should be
points.
something better than it.
Oh.
That's what I'm saying.
Again.
No.
In all reality,
It'd be garbage.
it probably should be
quite
something.
different.
I think it's better to keep that in there, especially the number of calls that they're doing. Yeah, but that guys are doing a lot of calls.
Recruitment, where do you wanna, what are you thinking for number?
Yeah, let's just zero it out for first responders.
The recruitment?
Yeah.
Because if necessary,
Where do you want it in fire then? I'm all for that.
Had that air packs.
Sure.
Half an air pack.
Hey, we're
Hey,
making
the
progress here,
Cut
okay?
that down the middle or sideways?
Every bit counts.
Okay. The retention part, again, kept that at 1,500, we've used
1337, yeah. All right.
just $200. There's still
Haven't you recently
13.
had people leave? Is it just the fire department or is it?
Fire and both.
Recently retired?
recent,
Retirements.
I'd say, I'd be lucky to retirement. We had one retire and one moved to Winona, and then one guy moved to Island. So this year we've lost a few organic, just lost, but then.
What is it?
Great.
They got your bones.
They got them to themselves, please.
We can mute them too, can't we?
Maybe, I don't know,
Yeah, you
if I
could.
can move this mouse.
If you click on, you can do a mute all.
Can't move your mouth.
Yeah, you know.
There you go.
Are you anticipating spending that 13 for, retention this year?
Say it again?
Are you anticipating spending that 13 that you have remaining
Probably
or?
not all of it.
No. I mean,
I'm just wondering if that's something that,
We are with the relief days for that.
Yeah, we do that.
I'm just wondering if that's something that you could preemptively use this 13 this year, part of next year, and move a chunk of that 15 up to your other half of your. If you're buying cups and water bottles anyway, use it, buy it this year and
We could.
You can look into it.
This year, we could use it up this year and then they can put that next year,
then hold off on that stuff.
till the next.
Yep.
School, yeah.
We're gonna take that out then.
The retention for next year. Are you guys keeping that at that, or you want reduced
Oh, hang on.
For next year.
for 2025?
That's what I'm saying.
500?
Yeah, drop that.
Which line is that?
You want it down to 500, correct? Okay.
500.
Yeah, these were new that we added last year, so we can have accountability of how we're spending it, and so obviously we didn't spend what we were thinking, so that's good, it's a good problem.
So you want that moved to SCBA as well?
I love that, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
It's anywhere, but we don't spend in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, it's 200, you're getting
Well,
close.
this year's budget, we can't, I can't move that stuff around. I'm
I
just
think
ready
We can
for
shuffle
2025.
next year's.
Yeah, I can.
with
still
anticipation of
move
using
that over
this.
this, but
Okay.
So what line are we on?
That
You're on
was
23.
23.
all right. Continuing that same
So we'll do
thing.
the same thing, we'll get you, this started at the end of 23, where we're gonna send 2 people to a conference, a medical conference in Florida, and we got
Okay.
denied just because, again, cost, so we'll get you an estimate of an EMS conference to do things, and we'll
So are you changing these as we go along, Jason? So
I'm documenting them so I can go in and change them, because
we're not gonna see at the end of the night what's actually happened?
no, because we won't have final numbers. There's still gotta be calculations that gotta be done. We gotta get estimates. We gotta get all this stuff.
We could have a good idea where we're at, so we could have.
I understand that, but I
I think you should be doing that as we go. That's what we did last year. It worked out really well. Okay, well,
I can work on getting this done and try to put together and send out before as much as I can, but
That would be
The
helpful.
fire department, you come back with, work out a proposal.
I understand that, but
a lot of changes I gotta have.
we have a lot of items that we're changing here. We would see a big difference at the end of the levy at the end, you know, where it's at. Instead of coming back and you getting upset because you were embarrassed last year because we sat here for 2 hours at the December meeting last year.
Another note in here, so we know to move this money back
Yeah,
next year for recruitment.
Everything for the continuing education development, same thing for fire, we want to send to the national.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're gonna come back with it again.
We will.
Yeah.
We will.
okay. And then communication equipment, that was the same, 16.5, that was left. It's like nothing used this year from the 13.5. I'm guessing that'll be used a little bit this year.
Yeah, the paperwork's on here right here.
Okay.
Yeah.
I figured it was gonna get used, it just was, so,
Yep, yeah, Renee and I talked about it, so.
okay.
So you have stuff coming for that?
It's already came, we just haven't paid the bill yet. Jackson, yeah, so I told Motorola, now.
Okay.
You don't want to know my comment goes to that.
All right, emergency operations is the next one here. Really nothing changed here. There,
Our only real expense this year was when we had some of that flooding, that we got some sand and rain, yeah, and some bag fillers.
So here's your standby generator, right? That's yours?
Yeah, so that's always been, I've always wanted it here because I always thought it was more EOC-ish.
So where's this other generator at in the last line?
Like I said, I don't know why that one got added at some point.
So that line should be 0 on that other page.
I think Jim was saying that was.
We already we got a contract for that, for all the generators.
Do we
for
have
3 years.
do we have 2 generators at the fire department?
I don't know, there's a generator in the back of some of your equipment. That
That's
there
right
is.
here.
That's not there.
that notation was left in there from the previous year's budget. That's why I had those asterisks next to it, because I didn't know where was, because I know this was also in here. So that was part of the miscellaneous expenses.
Thank you for clarifying
So
that.
to help cover that, but
I'd like to get rid of it out of the other budgets, anything that says generator.
yeah, we'll remove
I'd
the
like it
wording
just
to this. Yeah, that's fine. It was just, it was left in there as a comment
I
from the
know,
previous
got added
year.
at some point, but yeah.
Yeah,
I honestly wouldn't mind putting that 800 up into,
Perfect.
up into first responders for our,
This 800?
yeah,
That's for maintenance on the generator each year.
Well, we got that covered. We did a 3-year
We got it
contract.
covered for this year. We got to cover, you got to maintain it 2025.
3-year contract.
Yep.
We signed a 3-year contract with,
Yeah.
I wouldn't mind moving it
For
to
5 generators.
general equipment or something in general equipment for the first responders, because we've got EPI coming due and EPI is our biggest expense. We just refreshed our albuterol.
what's an epi
You mean
cost?
like training that we didn't use or?
No.
$550
For
or
what?
up to $570 depending on which they send us. And sometimes they don't send me, it expires within a time frame, and I've researched and you can use it up to 9 months past the expiration date safely. But, it's, sometimes the supply companies send me like new expired stuff, so maybe within a couple months, and they have to send me supplies from their stock. They can't, they have to get rid of their supplies too, and then it kind of screws us over depending on what. So I try to find all the meds that expire later, so I don't on an extra charge for. We will have EPI coming due, and AED pads are expiring in 2026. And all of our AED machines are expiring in 2029. So we have things that we have to plan for.
Our
Are we gonna work on grants for the AEDs?
Yeah, sometimes Southeast EMS.
Firehouse Sub does great grants. I know we got half a dozen of them for our police department a few years back.
We
so,
applied.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of grants out there for AEDs and
Yep,
stuff
as we
like
get
that.
closer, yep.
Okay, so what are we saying?
What's the lifespan in the AEDs?
Well, we just ordered some, they expire in, the ones that we ordered, I don't know, do you remember when?
2
Tanya
years
ordered
ago?
those? Yeah,
Pads or the
pads.
AEDs
The
themselves?
AED is, I'm not sure, I don't know when we got those, you
I'd
also,
say
those expire in 2029. But our pads expire in 2026.
Yep.
And we have peds pads and adult pads.
For $200 per set.
Club's expired. I just reuse them again.
They're not being used.
I know.
Well, the only reason them AEDs are so expensive is in case they fail, it's the insurance cover.
Oh, I bet. Wow.
We'll check the contract and see how that's worded, whatever that generator. We'll work with James. I'm sure he's got some of that information. Kane, if you're on here, I hope you're listening to that.
He was on vacation.
He's on vacation, but he was listening.
Oh, he
So,
was on there.
we'll find that, generator. He can unmute himself too, I think, so. We'll figure that out then. But you said under where for fire or for first responders?
Just general equipment or operating supplies, either one. Put them in either one.
Number 9? Yeah, number 9 on that one.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right,
Operating supply.
That's what you're changing it to?
potentially, we'll verify with the contract first. I don't wanna move it. I wanna make sure the contract's in place and everything's good to go with that. So, because I don't want us to get caught with having expenses for it and we remove the budget for it. So. All right, anything else on that one?
Look your mouse.
You know, it was fine until you got here, and then I think your body was blacked out.
That's probably. Manual tracking. And.
All right, next section, we're gonna start going into public work stuff. Again, hopefully Kane's on. If he wants to pipe in anytime, he can unmute himself and pipe in. We have projected for, this still says 5, this should say 4 FTEs. So we have
guys.
projected for
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
an additional person there, after talking with Kane, decided we were gonna remove that additional person for the year. That lowers it down by $90,000 with all the salaries, payrolls, benefits. From $491,000 to $411,000. Keeps him at 4 full-time employees. Again, I know this says 5. That was also with the reduction of 25 hours of overtime per employee. To get down to that number.
My question is, after this stuff, when we turned around and we wanted 4 full-time employees, that there was for a rotation that was gonna take place out of water and sewer. And so it was gonna be 3 employees and the 1 employee was gonna be out at the plant. It has not happened. And so we really don't need to have, especially during this time, like right now during the winter time. You know, it's trying to keep all those people, working. I don't think we need that much. I think you can get by with the 3 that we have right now. And maybe 1 part-time coming in the spring and look at it that way and save that money.
I, again, strongly disagree, because as we continue to grow and move forward, we're gonna need that 4th position. And again, the intention is still there. There's been the conflict with People Services about wanting to train and have somebody there. We're not the only city that People Services has been doing this to.
No, I agree with that.
It's been a struggle across the board, and I'm not happy with People Services. But it's still the intention to have that person to get time on, because they need to have, hold on, I'm not done yet. Because they need to have those hours on scene with the person getting the training. I mean, they have to get the time there.
You know, I still think it's a waste of money on that extra body that there is, you know, for part-time, I can see it. You know, I have the three full-time that we're dealing with right now, which is handling things. And last year that we were doing the hookups that there was with the water and sewer, which took a little bit more of the time that was going on. That's now been accomplished, and so that's not gonna be the same amount that's gonna be going on there. I think that we can save a lot by doing that. And then cutting down actually off of two that way. Especially for this year, and give it a run and see how it works this year and see what we can do.
Yeah, I'm gonna be leaving them in. If you wanna remove it, it can be removed at the council meeting, because I disagree, because we got 4 people covering parks and trails, covering sewer, water, streets, roads, all that stuff. It is a heavy workload, that will ebb and flow with time with everything going on, but as we look to continue, we're going to need them in there instead of trying to hire a part-time employee coming in the middle of the year, having that person staffed and using them wisely during the, as you say, slower times. We can do that, but trying to say, no, we don't need that and going part-time, I don't think is ideal or proper for the city. So,
Well, one of the questions I really raise is, we spend an awful lot of time mowing that township ditch up here. From Gas and Go to 100th Street. That's gotta be about 6 or 7 acres that we're mowing right down tight like we do the lawns. Why are we furnishing a person to mow township ditches? I know it's the gateway to our town, and it makes it look really pretty. But when you're paying somebody $22 an hour, you run up and down that ditch with a mower, it's probably taking better part of 6 or 7 hours to mow that ditch. With a 6-foot mower. I question what we're doing there. I really have a big question on that. And how much other stuff are we mowing that we probably don't need to be mowing?
Right.
I understand we want to keep some of the trails open down in the park for foot trails. But do they need to be mowed every week to get down like the lawn? Okay, might have been my rant.
I think the thing proposed, I think that was a serious discussion that Kane had with Jason, and I respect that conversation. I think in light of our overall budget being so high, this is probably a $85,000 expense that we can get by without this year and help the budget by just keeping it at 4 or keeping our current staff what we have.
I would be opposed to adding a new one right now.
We're not adding-
Under the I mean, because we haven't had anyone go out to the plant, so, yeah.
You know, I just, you know, that was what we were trying to do when we put the other one on, was for that particular purpose. You know, I think maybe we can take a look and if we were gonna do something, maybe turn around and find, an employee that's got, you know, some, classes that are already in, you know, wastewater, because I know one that there's a bee operator that's floating around here. That would be great if we had a bee operator that was, you know, on that staff to be able to do it. That way we could turn around and pull people's, when that comes in a couple of years, and be able to just have an A operator. If you got an A and a B, an A can sign off and be able to do it that way, and I think that might make sense, so.
well, fine for that. We gotta keep that position though. It's not filled right now.
Yeah, no, I'm
Fill
trying to say, but I know that there is one that's available to be able to do that, which would be fantastic. You know, I'd like to even see if we can't pull people's out early, if it might be possible to do that.
Well, if we found a B operator, we'd cancel people's anyway, and that would cover that expense.
But more than cover that
Exactly.
expense, that's
Exactly.
200 so off of that one. by
So that's
itself.
that's not even part of the discussion replacing
We
that.
have 3 with the vacant spots. We have 4 spots.
Yeah, but right now during the winter, you don't need to have 4, you know, those.
Again, I disagree with that statement, so. But that's for another.
Well, I mean, it's,
So-
that's what if you want to have a working manager or not, so, you know, so I mean, the 3 that are there, but anyway. I think it should be down.
I think keeping it at the 4 is what's reasonable for the city. And if we want to build that 4th person as a certified operator, that's fine. I don't care who we put in there, but I think having that 4th person is needed and
The
beneficial.
plan is
to the
not to
city.
hire seasonal people, and yes, we need to post for this 4th person. Maybe just hold the posting off until February with a 1 April start or something like that.
Or even, you know, April and start a little bit later than that even, off of what there is, because, I mean, if you know, that way we'll save some money, but, you know, that makes sense, because during the winter, you don't need that extra person if there is. That's just a waste of money.
To me, that's a conversation that Kane and Jason has to have about that 4th person in January, February.
Yeah, I think it also has to come back to the council too, so.
That's true, but I respect that conversation that they're having versus us sitting around the table
Mhm.
thinking what we need.
Okay.
Okay.
Snow and ice, that's a contract that was approved earlier this year, budget for that. Again, we don't know what we're gonna get this year,
For snow?
yeah, this year,
Yes.
The one thing that really kind of got me on this one and looking at, and I know we've already signed that contract.
yeah,
Okay, so that's done with what we have, but I was looking at the 2023, even this year, 2024. The 23 was about that, so we had some extra money that was left in there. What happened to that extra money that we had for that 37,000? Actually, 52,000.
52,000 from 20.
I have no idea, that was before my time,
Well, it's unused, 2024 still exists.
2023 he's talking about.
Well, the 23 was the 64, but I'm just saying, we had such warm weather in 2024 that we didn't have any
So
snow
I do know
basically
that
this year.
the unused from this year, Kane and I have been talking with, when it comes to snow and ice, I know there's a need for us to have equipment for the city that we don't have. And so we've been talking about looking at going, okay, the unused budget for snow and ice removal, if we can allocate that into purchasing equipment for our city so they can start taking over and doing these things, I think is gonna be beneficial. You know, there's vehicles out there that are snow plows that go on auction for $49,000, $50,000. You know, and at some point, if that's something that we can take over as a city to be able to operate and run, you know, utilizing this, yes, we're under a contract, but if we can get out from under that contract by having our own equipment, would be beneficial to the city.
Do we have anybody on staff that can operate as a B license or a CDL?
I don't know what you need for a snow plow, to be honest.
What we see,
You know, there's somewhere you have to have a CDL
Don't
to
have anything.
operate anything over 26,000 pounds.
But
Hey,
it's not,
everybody.
I can.
Hey, how's it going? You do not need a CDL to run an emergency vehicle, so a snow plow is considered emergency. But yes, getting CDLs would be a priority.
Well, the argument over the years has been, we didn't want anybody to be operating snow equipment. We were gonna keep leasing it out all these years. So I guess what's the switch there? I think that 52,000 we have there left over from this year should get added into 2025 budget. We'll add 12,000 to it, and we'll have it covered at 64,000 level.
So the contract we signed was a 3-year contract, right?
Yeah.
3-year contract for snow.
For snow and ice.
So,
Right, but this money doesn't go to him if he doesn't.
Yeah,
plow.
snow, ice,
it's going into
and all that
year
stuff.
2 of 3-year.
Would this be a reasonable seed money for some kind of CIP fund for either equipment like that or
absolutely.
future needed equipment?
I
in other
absolutely,
departments?
yeah.
And that's what I would kind of like to earmark it as a.
And that was kind of the thought Kane and I had started talking about. And I got a magazine and saw that they were selling used vehicles at auction from, you know, state to state sales at, you know, $49,000, $50,000 for a vehicle like that. So it's a reasonable thing that we can start getting budgeted. We can start
We just have to have a place to put it when we keep getting this stuff, so that's also another issue that's there, so.
You also have to consider the amount of overtime to schedule that too, to operate it
Yep,
Absolutely, so
Starting
there's, yeah, that's
before the
gonna be an
night,
in-depth
late at
discussion.
night. It's,
it is. But you gotta start the conversation.
Yeah, but I'm just,
So-
that's just the start of the conversation where it should be.
I look at that amount you know.
I think
then
we
look
could
at the
use that.
amount for an employee.
Use it, yeah, use it someplace else. Anyway, let's go, continue on, then are we on,
Tree
tree
lighting.
lighting? Okay, on that, did we find out about, what was going on with the township on that street light that was,
Well, we haven't.
that we talked about, that kind of bounced back and forth? I don't know if we ever resolved
I'm
that.
trying to get from people services, from people, the co-op. We get like a list of lights, but it's not like, they're not addressed right, so we're trying to get the address to line up and get like, I want a map of where each one of these lights is at.
Okay, because that should be, I think,
So-
county off of what that one was.
Well, yeah, but this got rolled into streets and roads, electricity, there's not gonna be anything in that one, the street lighting. That gets rolled over into streets and roads.
So where did we end up
Has
at on
it
the,
been going up or been pretty stable for,
so where did we end up at on the street, on the snow removal? For a number?
It's,
we already did that, so.
I wanna know where it ended up at.
Well, we've already got the contract, so the contract would be that, it's the other part that we didn't
Oh,
look
the
at.
contract's for 75.6.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
so, yeah, so that one we signed and we did that, what was it, 3 months ago? Did we do that,
Something
right?
like that, yeah.
4 months ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
So this is done. That's your street.
yeah,
lighting.
that's put into the next one, streets and roads, you'll see the electricity down there, 24,000. Year to date, it's about 7, but there's trying to figure out the right one that's gonna change a little bit, so keeping it at that, but there's only 2 items in here. There's the street maintenance, talking with Kane, agreed to cut down this does need to increase over years. Cut it down to 50 from the 70,000 that was initially done. But again, talking with Kane, realistically, the streets are in such bad need that it's gonna end up costing millions to repair these. And so there's gonna have to be a different route that's taken. We're not gonna be able to catch up in our street maintenance budget to be able to properly maintain them as they are in need in the next few years. So that'll have to be something that'll be addressed down the road by council as we start going into major repairs for the roads.
There are some that are terrible.
Yeah, so, but again, I think it's something that needs to be increased and should continually be increased. Because last year's 24,000. Again, we want to be able to do more reparative maintenance if we repair roads. We want to be able to, if there's something that pops up, be able to fix them right away. And so we need to have that buildup of money in that account eventually, for what it should be. So again, dropped it down 20,000 to 50,000 for this year.
Mr. Daniels, but the street lights that People's Energy Cooperative, they own the poles and the meters. We just pay the use of the power.
Okay. Oh, for the light.
Yeah.
For light.
and there are LEDs on everything that there
Yeah,
is,
there
so
are.
we're saving whatever we can out of that, so.
And that would be the same moving forward if we were to ask them to install more or if
Right.
crosswalk
If they
signs
need a
or,
transformer, that's $600 payment to the city.
okay,
Or if they can string a line from a transformer that's already there, that's just a minor cost and some labor. So
okay.
Yeah, we put some new ones that there were up at Tilly's that they wanted, what, 4 of them, I think, that we put over there this last year.
I know there was somebody talking about a flashing sign at a crosswalk for the DG market. And I didn't know logistically how that would.
You would probably do that
There's
off of
solar.
a solar panel is what you would do.
Was a public comment.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of what sign is.
There isn't one there.
There isn't
There
one
must be
there.
one- must be-
Those are talking about the speed limit one that flashes?
No, they would like to
Put
put
in
one
one. Oh,
in, so
yeah,
you
sure.
could hit a button and lights go off, say, hey, somebody's crossing the street.
Oh,
But I think those would be solar panels
Okay.
off of that and done that way, because that way you wouldn't have to worry about it or put any power that there is to it. I think it's, because they're doing a great job with it.
See here, trees, 25,000 for tree care. Kane's talked about there's a lot of tree care that needs to be done in our parks. They've kind of fallen behind. I agree, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be maintained with those. Year-to-date,
This needs to go on contract.
I was just gonna ask a question, when we had the flood that there was, that came through there. We took out some of those trees, did all that stuff get paid for that stuff? Did we ever get reimbursed off of that, or?
Well, we paid the invoice, but we're waiting out for the state funding.
yeah, because FEMA,
We would be reimbursed, yeah.
How much was that invoice?
Are we talking about something different here?
No, I was just gonna say FEMA, we denied the FEMA because we didn't hit the county didn't hit the total number needed. Now it's going to the state to figure out what that is.
HSME.
Yeah, so.
That's an open bill.
Specific invoice, I don't know what the invoice was.
I didn't know, but I thought that might help with some of the trees too, that were there.
That seems high. But we don't have a rough estimate of what we submitted.
Not off the
Yeah,
top of
we
my
paid
head.
for it. It was in our packet sometime back in July or August.
Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Shop. You'll see salary, wages, payrolls, all that got moved under the one section. Everything that was public works related where their pay stuff was under, got moved under into one umbrella. Again, to simplify things. Tool and equipment supplies, 14,000. We got 12,000 for this year. We're at about 10. I know Kane's got some more expenditures coming through. Has asked for a slight increase in his tool supplies, just to help cover again cover a wide range of things. Across the city. So up that 2,000 there. That didn't change. The auto insurance, all the insurances, again, those were removed and put under the finance administration position under that section. Telephone expenses, 900. Is about budgeted that last year, about that this year. I'm sure we got telephone expenses coming through again. So it's about on par. The electricity, same thing, maybe look at reducing that. I wouldn't go anything under 15,000 to 1,500 in that area. Same with the heating. However, the gas and stuff that covers their vehicle, the mowers, the weed eater, everything they use, the gas, oil and miscellaneous.
Let's go back to, number 11, electricity.
Okay,
Okay, we've got quite a bit that's unused, for that year to date. We've only had 663. Why are we budgeting it that much higher and to go to 2,000? And then use 1337.
yeah, cause I haven't gotten a chance to go with Kane, so like I said, we could reduce that down.
I think that needs to come down off of that.
15.
Yeah, I think that, heating should be able to go down too.
Yep, like I just said,
Okay, if we look at what we're dealing with on, gas and oil, price of gas is coming down, so gotta keep that in mind.
That's vehicle gas, correct?
I think so.
Yeah.
There's gas, oil,
Heating's
miscellaneous.
different line.
So what do we wanna,
You can go back
what do we
up
wanna
to-
drop it to? The electricity,
I would drop the electricity down to, gosh, 1,000.
yeah.
I would caution that, guys, just because there has been some discrepancies with the billing from People's Co-op. I would caution dropping that. Think about your own electricity bill at home per month. $100. It's
Questioning that too, Kane.
yeah, it's pretty odd that we've only spent 300 and some dollars in 11 months. So I would just caution that.
Let's just drop it to 1,500, not 1,000.
So
For the shop
1,500.
cover.
Yeah, I've been,
What do you mean?
2,000.
I gotta get Parks and Rec, I get fire, like what's shop cover, what is?
Shop
What is the sheriff's
covers,
department doing?
covers,
Like
that's like
this
their,
is just the tools that these.
yeah, that's
these-
kind of the catch-all for the rest of the stuff that they do with Public Works,
Okay.
parks, everything. It's, because they work out of the shop.
Okay,
And then, you know,
And
some
then
of the
it
other expenses can get divided up, but a lot of the stuff just comes from their base expenses. That's why it's not a whole lot of different line items.
okay.
It's kind of just the basic stuff. Kane, did I explain that right?
Yeah, you did. I think the shop supports all departments. It
Yeah.
parks, streets, facilities, even water and sewer. So consider that. Driving out to the treatment plant, doing water and sewer work orders.
City Hall,
Yeah.
department, all that stuff.
So general maintenance almost.
Yeah.
And catch-all.
Yeah.
Okay. It doesn't specifically fall into one of these other categories.
Yeah. Okay, lost the where we were. Electricity. Kane, the heating stuff, we talked about that a little bit. I know I didn't get it marked in here, but the 3,000, we're just under 1,000 reduction on that. I know winter is just kind of around the corner and trying to figure out what's gonna happen. Cause I keep hearing it's a rougher winter this year, but who knows?
Yeah, I would caution that too, just because last year was so mild. Uh, I would caution dropping that, but we are setting the thermostats. We're turning them down at night, turning them down on the weekend. So we're trying to reduce where we can.
I leave all these things, I go along with that miscellaneous expense too. Yeah, I just leave everything the way it is off the shop.
Okay. All right, any other? All right,
Miscellaneous expenses. What are those covered?
Kane, your miscellaneous expenses?
Fertilizer,
In the shop,
mouse traps.
You know, I've never,
about the bug man for that.
Yeah,
I've never used that miscellaneous expense. I think it's just there for a what if scenario, I guess.
WD-40?
That would be gas, oil, miscellaneous.
Well, actually, we don't need two miscellaneous lines.
Right, that's what I'm thinking.
Zero it.
is If you haven't used it in a while, then.
which one's that on?
There's line 17 on the shop stuff. He's got miscellaneous up underneath 13. Would need an extra $600 for miscellaneous on line 17. Good catch, Dan.
Yeah, zero.
Oh, I see, gas, oil and miscellaneous, okay. Let's
Sorry,
zero that out,
miscellaneous.
okay.
Can you catch all that?
Yep, I caught all that. Just know with the sewer utility, we are putting more miles on vehicles and more wear and tear, so I wouldn't cut that miscellaneous. I'd just add it to the gas, oil, miscellaneous, if that'd be possible.
Yeah.
They're, looks like,
If you haven't used it, you haven't used it.
Well, I do know with the gas, oil miscellaneous year to date, it's already over what was.
Yeah, gas is going down, it's not going up, so which is good this year.
Well, I mean, that can change in an instant, and you get a bad hurricane down in the Gulf, or you get, and that's such a volatile thing.
A lot better than what it was a couple of years ago.
Don't
We
disagree
were
with that.
putting 20% in there trying to figure out
Don't
what it was
disagree
gonna
with
be.
that at all.
So, well, we keep it where it's at, okay,
So
so.
what are we saying? Are we moving the 600 up?
I'm just gonna move it up into the miscellaneous and.
So you gotta do plus 600 then on
Move that up there. Okay. Parks and Rec. Go through this again, payroll got moved over. Supplies is at 2,000 for the year. There's a lot of stuff with that. I know there's, Kane can kind of chat on that too with the usage for parks. That was amended and brought up to 2,000 from the preliminary. Kane, did you have anything to add on that one?
I think in the past, items got coded to R&M grounds, R&M maintenance, and I think we could just better code supplies, actual items, to this supplies account. So that's why you see the increase there.
And you're gonna see reductions across this department, so there is a slight increase here. But there'll be deductions elsewhere that'll make up for that. Subcontracted services,
I was just looking at 2023 on that for the supplies. It was pretty close at 500 and 449 actual. But, yeah, okay. Just comparing the 2023 to 2024.
the subcontracted services, we did use some of those this year. Kane, do you remember what those ones were? Was that some of
I
the?
can't think of it right now, Jason.
Tree stuff should be under tree though, right?
Mhm.
We reduced it down to 0 this year. Kane and I had talked about it, so they're fine with that. So property insurance, again, that got moved over, so that's down to 0. Park insurance as well, that gets covered under our insurance umbrella there. Electricity, again, reduced that. I don't know how much more we want to go down. We're at about 1,500. That would probably be a little bit more than that. We're doing bills right now, so.
So what's electricity at the parks? What's that involved? Cause it's a couple grand a year, seems like a lot of electricity for.
Pardon?
What are you considering? What's the 2,000 considered for the electricity at the parks? I mean, what is
So
it?
that would be Orinoco Park, River Park, Community Center, the message board signs.
So this is a separate electricity other than,
Right, this isn't a street light. It's not a facility. It's not the fire hall. It's not the shop. It's just the park.
All
electric-
separate meters too.
it's just all metered different. Okay.
Water, sewer, garbage. Dropped that from the almost 10,000 last year down to 8,000. We're about 6,000 this year. I think that is reasonable and keep watching it as we go, trying to find that level out price. It's up from 2023 as well this year. And I think a lot of that has to do with, just what's being used across the parks, how much they're being used. So we'll keep an eye on that continuously. Gas, oil and miscellaneous. There's an increase in that of $300 from the preliminary one, just because we're at about $5,300 this year already. So trying to keep it kind of on par with where we're at.
We were up quite a bit from 2023 off of that then.
Yep, there's a lot of work, the parks being done. Repair and maintenance of building, that's up 2,500 from the preliminary. We're already over 5,000. I know there's been, Kane, do you want to talk about some of the building work that's done? And I think there's gonna have to be some major repairs coming to in the near future as well, that we'll have to start budgeting
So
for.
this is for buildings at the parks, right?
Yes.
How many buildings?
Yes, so hooking up Orinoco Park bathrooms to the grinder station. Instead of having a vault style toilet, we would have plumbing, hard pipe to the grinder station. So there are some bigger expenses coming down the pike, that being one of them.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I know some of the building out there, the bathroom facility is in dire need of repair, and that's what a lot of this has been going to keep.
Yeah, when you put that, hook that up, and get out of the septic, it's gonna make a big difference off of that.
Well,
So,
just the facility itself
Well,
is.
yeah.
Flush toilets.
yeah,
Well,
that's
no,
what
I'm
I'm saying,
talking
yeah.
about the infrastructure of the
Oh,
building
the
itself.
building
is
itself.
in dire need of repair.
It is.
So that, that whole facility may end up getting a big renovation at some point as well too, but that's what a lot of this is going for, is upkeeping those,
Is that required to hook it to the septic? Because I'm just thinking about winter, is if we have it open in winter,
No,
right now, it can be used.
it's not open in the winter.
It's not open.
Yeah, we turn the water
Okay.
off.
So that would be the
There's
same.
no heat, no water over there. No.
Yeah.
But is it required
No,
to
there's-
hook it to the sewer? Is it required to?
It's hooked up. It's hooked up to the city sewer system. There's a grinder installed and
Yeah,
it
we
is
gave
hooked
an
up.
extra one for that, okay, just to have it that way in the future, because you don't wanna have that septic that's out there.
Cause there's also the thought of, you know, it's the park, there's some camping stuff down there, it used to be camping,
Used to
that's
be,
been closed down. If that is something that is, the city decides, hey, maybe we'll bring this back to utilize, having that facility updated with the
Yeah,
stuff
I
to
mean,
be
if
able
we
to
can
use.
bring revenue
Obviously,
in, yeah, that makes sense.
And who knows what we'll do with it in the future, expand.
I mean, it would just
Yeah.
made sense since we were doing the
Yeah.
sewer to go ahead and put that in and to be a part of it when we
Yeah,
did
makes
that,
sense.
so we could put that one grinder in there.
Okay. Repair and maintenance equipment kept that about 2,000, still on there for that this year. The repair and maintenance grounds mower, reduced that down from the preliminary from 39,000 to 30,000. Again, this was part of Kane's rotation system of getting these budgeted for rotating mowers out, and having that in there. Kane, did you want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. Wait on those.
We did cut some out of there. Jason and I discussed it, and we did cut some out of there. Yeah, I guess.
I mean,
Any
can you
questions?
run those mowers a little bit longer than that, instead of having every year rotation on it, do it like every other year? You know,
Well, it's last year, one of our public works employees pretty much worked on a mower all summer long. So,
But why
Well,
is
we
that,
got-
Kane? If they're that new,
I
why would
I
we
think a
have-
lot of it is the people operating them. There are rough grounds that we take care of. Um, a combination of those two things. I guess I wish I had a better answer for you, but I think it's just a combination of operators and the rough grounds and the amount of ground we take care of.
I mean, has some of the rocks been cleared up in that, because you were still doing the sewer stuff last year? That was going through, and I know we had a big rock issue that there was.
and I think too, if we're mowing that much township, I think we need to look at that, because you think about it, that's a lot of acreage.
And there's a lot of rocks out there
You know,
too.
How many acres is it? Would we say 7?
That's gotta be close to 7 acres, that ditch up there.
You know, it is a lot of mowing, and we do keep it up for appearances. We can, and I am all for it, reducing the amount of mowing we do in the city. Right of ways, certain parks, drain fields. I am all for having the conversation to reduce the amount of mowing. There's a bunch of empty lots downtown. Absolutely. If we want to have that conversation where we can cut back, I'm ready. So,
Who owns the empty lots downtown?
City.
The city does own?
There's 3 of them. Goldfish is that, or
These ones here.
those 2 lots, 3 lots there.
I mean, I think we have to mow our property, but we don't need to do township. And maybe there's some stuff that we don't do. I mean,
Kane,
my ditches don't get mowed unless I mow.
is there a reason we were mowing up between 100th Street and city
Yes.
limits there?
we were just keeping up with appearances, trying to make the entrance to town look good.
Okay. No, that's an easy, we stop that.
Let's have the discussion before mowing season starts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to see if we couldn't save some money off the mowers
Yeah.
on that
Right.
39, even if it's at 30,000.
Yeah.
That's still a big chunk of money when we turn around and we've got a new mower that we bought this year. You know, and the mower is what, 16?
Mower is 19 something, if I remember right.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not seeing that reflected in here yet. 'Cause-
No, but that was the discussion when we purchased.
Yeah, I mean-
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, you're not seeing that in here, so.
No, but I'd like to try to cut that back on general equipment and the mower off of that stuff.
Jason, but we're seeing it in here because it's
Yeah.
been
No, you're not seeing
repair
that.
and maintenance of grounds and mowers.
No, I'm talking about the purchase of the new mower. You're not seeing that in here year to date.
We're not.
No, I'm talking
We're not
about the
spending
next year.
$30,000
Yeah,
for repairing
right.
mowers each year.
Yeah, I'm just talking about the one
Yeah.
purchase of a new mower. You haven't.
Yeah,
it's
but
not
I'm
in
just
here to
saying,
date. I know what you're saying. We're
okay,
talking.
general
about things.
equipment's the next one, never mind.
So,
Cause that 30,000 doesn't include the replacing that mower, Kane?
No,
Yeah, that would be the intention. I'd like to stay with the 3-year rotation.
No,
I
but I'm
know,
asking, what I'm asking is that 30,000 include the replacement of the mower?
yes, it will.
You can't answer.
Yeah, it will, Paul. 30,000 would cover
That's what I
repair and
thought.
yep,
This is part of that mower is in this 30,000.
correct.
Okay,
so we got unused mower at $25,455 this year.
Yeah, no,
no, that's repair and maintenance and replacement of that mower.
we haven't had the new purchase mower come.
The bill hasn't come
Yeah.
yet for those.
So
that
that's
money's-
gonna be
That'll
the
be- that'll change for the
2024
new-
bill, right?
Yeah, came whatever the purchase of the mower is, that'll be coming out of this. It's
Correct.
just-
There's a $17,000 invoice for the new mower that we just purchased. That is not deducted from that 25,000 number. Make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense for 2024.
In 2025, there is also included in that the purchase of a new mower.
Correct.
Yep,
You have 3 mowers that are rotating through, so you'll buy a new mower this year, 3 years later, replace it. Everyone is on a 3-year rotation.
correct.
So is it
I
correct,
think we.
is it correct that the 6944 figure year to date for 2024 still has to have the 17,000 added to it?
Yes.
That's 23.
Correct. Correct, Ryland.
In that 3-year rotation out further, or at
I
least half a
agree
year.
with that 100%, yeah, because the hours aren't that much on them.
Right,
And then-
800 hours on a commercial machine.
Yeah,
It should be
yeah,
nothing.
Yeah,
Why
because
don't we, in 2025, then why don't we just work towards having less mowing? See how many hours we do put on the mowers and then look at a different rotation.
Well, I don't, yeah, I still like, I mean, it's a lot of money, that's, you're looking at the.
Because if we go with lesser hours, mowing less, we'll get more resale for it too, possibly too. Or go to a longer year like we're talking about. So I think we should-
that's also why I talked about a larger mower. You can mow some of these lots a lot quicker with less staff. And the mowers and backwing mowers, they're highly sought out by golf courses for doing rough stuff and because they don't like, the private golf courses don't like buying new equipment either and spend that kind of money for them.
well, and I guess the
Resale on them.
thing that I think about is look at what did we pay for it? And 3 years later, what did we get for it? You know, what do we pay?
What's the
Kane, did you say
depreciation on it is
19?
what you're
Yeah,
looking at.
So we paid 17 and we got
17?
7.
and we got 7.
7.5.
$10,000 in 3 years. That's a lot of, that's a
For a mower.
That's a lot.
So excuse me, that's $10,000 a year. You got 3 mowers.
well, yeah, you could look at it that way. Yes, I'm just looking at a mower.
Right,
I mean-
but that's each year. Each mower is depreciating
Yeah,
$10,000. You only got 3 in
You
the
could go longer
circle.
with
Each year it's
mowers.
10,000. It's not
right. I mean,
3,000.
I buy a commercial mower and I've got,
That's what,
7+
Not that
years.
rate.
Right.
that's, I mean, are we taking depreciation? I don't know how our city taxes work, if we can take depreciation on equipment like that, but that's a chunk of change. for a mower.
You got 630.
Okay, but even if you did, you know, if you're looking at a depreciation of about 3,300. We sell it after 3 years, we purchase it for 17,000, we get 7,000 back for it. Even if you say you want a 5-year lifespan, you're still at the depreciation value, so you're
And
not.
I'm wondering what we get back for it when it has 1,700 hours on it. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, that's more of my concern is like,
Buy a cheaper mower and run it into the ground, just find new ones.
No, I don't wanna, that causes more problems
Yeah.
for the guys than anything.
At the same time, with the lower hours, we keep it in warranty too somewhat. I mean, not the whole 3 years, but a good share of that is under warranty too, so.
But Kane, what else are you putting under that grounds one?
But when Kane's talking about careless staff doing damage to mowers, that's not covered by warranty.
Yeah.
That comes
That's
under
not every year.
accountability.
But Kane is talking about the expense on them mowers, the biggest part of the expense of that mower that sat down, broke down all the time was operator error.
So the other part
That's
of
not
it
covered
is,
by
So
warranty.
that's part of the reason why we're not hiring seasonal people too. We're gonna have our own staff, a
Understand that.
little more responsibility on it.
Understand
Take care of it.
So hopefully those people can work on the mowers a little bit as well.
Well, if they can't work on the mower, they're in
the other
business.
thing I'll say is,
Get a rock,
with that repair maintenance of grounds, again, this is for parks and rec, so I look at repair maintenance of the grounds. You know, we're on the river, we're susceptible to floods, as we saw this year. There's extensive damage that can happen in the parks. Playground equipment is not cheap. You know, that, we do have playground equipment at a variety of parks as well as the ball field and other stuff. There's a lot of, and that's not something that's really budgeted for in our city budget is, as a line item, is those kind of expenses where we've got to take into consideration of, you know, I know Parks and Trails has talked about doing some stuff at by the T-ball field. There's been talk about wanting to put in a volleyball court or volleyball, basketball court, because that's what the community's been asking for. So I think, you know, the repair and maintenance grounds, that $30,000 is still gonna be able to be utilized for those kind of expenses, because we don't have, you know, we have recreational activities, which is usually used for T-ball and stuff like that. But this will help repair those grounds if there's damage there for the floods or any other kind of stuff. That's my thought on that.
Is that
What about
that
the-
line 17?
That's number 16. 17, what's the general equipment?
That's been, and Kane can speak to this, I know there's been upgrades and things needed for, the park benches. That's the picnic tables, those kind of things. We're trying to upgrade those to a more resistant year-round material than just the wood, so they're not deteriorating as fast. Looking at those up. Kane, what kind of benches are those?
They're all weather, maintenance free.
Like the metal ones that are covered in the plastic.
How many,
You know, I was just wondering with the frames, which is, you know, the expensive part of it, and you've got the wood top and what you sit on. Can you turn around and get the other wood that there is that's resistant, all weather resistant, like you use for your decking and that, and just drill holes and replace that instead of buying the whole frame?
Those are expensive too. I mean,
Yeah, and we've done that, Jim. We've replaced boards in the past with green treated and brown treated boards, and they do last, but they do break down over time as well. So it is
I was thinking about the new other stuff, like I'm trying to think.
Like the composite.
Yeah, the composite stuff, like Trex or what's the word that they use? for it?
stuff.
You know, if you use Trex, that would be, you know, would hold up a lot longer. That would be cheaper than buying new ones and that, because once you got the frame, you got the frame.
the pecs don't work for that. No, you're talking about the decking?
You're not just gonna replace a board here or a board there with wood. You're gonna
No,
replace the
whole
entire
Yeah,
thing.
right.
And, I mean, I've looked through the parks magazines when we get them, they're still looking at $4 to $5 for those kind of benches
Yeah,
They're not
Trex
cheap.
isn't cheap.
at all. So, you know, it's one of those things where it's to upgrade this stuff and to get it where it's a more long-term solution for these benches that are gonna serve the community longer is gonna cost a little bit of money. Now, it's not we're gonna buy them all at once. This is
Well,
replace a couple
we've
here.
been working on that for a number of years. That's why
Could we
I'm
cut
wondering
this
to try to find a way to do it, to cut it back a little bit off
Yeah.
that for 18,000.
and just not do as many this coming year? 'Cause,
Yeah.
I mean,
Last
our
year,
residents
did a
have
lot
of
last
it.
year.
last year we did like 10 of them.
Yeah.
We can look at some grant dollars too. There's a lot of grant programs for the Parks and Recreation.
Okay.
We can take a look at.
And we started the program 2 years ago to do 10 tables a year. So we've done to get those wood ones replaced with the new metal ones, so they all look alike and uniformity, so.
How many do we have? Did you say that earlier, Ryland?
Okay.
How many do we have?
I thought it was 10 a year. Oh, how many do we
No,
have?
Total,
For what?
picnic tables?
Kane would have to ask.
30, 32. It's always floated around that 30 mark. Some years we've dismantled and got rid of a few just because they're in poor shape. But yeah, Ryland's right. We've been trying to do 10 a year. One year we did 6, one year we did 10. We're just trying to get everything the same, up to the same standard.
And I know when we had budgeted in 2023, 25,000, we only spent, what, 833? I thought we bought more that year. In 2023.
We did, Jim. The invoice didn't get paid until 2024. So that was a timing issue there. Those funds should have came out of 2023, but they did come out of 2024. And that's why you see we're over this year.
19, yeah. Cause I remember we did make that purchase, so. Okay.
Recreational,
And that left at 3,000. Miscellaneous expenses brought that up to 4,000. Kane, you wanna talk about that? We're at 18,000 year to date for miscellaneous expenses when it comes to parks. And again, I think some of that had to do with some of the damage, but so hopefully we'll get covered on the other end of that, but Kane, for your miscellaneous there.
Correct. I think some of those charges were from the damages, the flooding this year.
And I know we had budgeted 2023, 3,000 and we spent 169. We budgeted 3,600. We just went up by the normal 10% last year.
Actually, it's 20.
Huh?
Actually, it was 20.
20%, so, but
Would it make sense to move that miscellaneous up to the other miscellaneous as well, 13 and 19? Or would you want them separated and actually give miscellaneous repairs?
I mean, we could rename it too,
Yeah,
from miscellaneous to
I
something
think it would
else.
be better to have an actual name
Yes.
to it than just
I
throw
would
a
agree with
miscellaneous tab on there.
if you got 4,000 in miscellaneous, and it
that's.
sounds kind of high, that should be in some other category.
Especially when you have another miscellaneous got 5,000, 5,300 on it.
Identify.
Mhm. So if we want to throw it under, because it seems like a storm damage or some repair or something.
Kane, any thoughts on what you'd want to reclassify miscellaneous expense as?
I think you could split it up with the repair and maintenance categories, buildings, grounds, equipment.
Okay.
That could cover park shelters, playground equipment, tennis, soccer, baseball, t-ball equipment. It could be spread out.
Okay, Kane and I will sit down and figure out where to disperse that, and we will come up with a different category. We'll leave it blank for this year, but the miscellaneous, we'll move it down to 0 and redisperse it. And we will come up with a new name, so that way for future budgets.
So for now, are we gonna put it up with that line 13 or what?
He's gonna either redistribute it amongst multiple different lines or come up
We
with a
gotta
new
talk
name
with
with it.
Kane,
Okay,
so.
I'm gonna 0 it for now.
Sure. Travel expenses, I don't know why this was, the mileage reimbursements, I don't know why this is 0, they've gone to trainings this year. It's because the company vehicles have been taken. So. That comes
But
out
that
of
would
the
be
gas there.
Parks and Rec. I'd almost zero that off. For travel expense. And then training, $4,500 for Parks and Rec? No, I don't think so.
You know why
You
I
have a
think that
traveling
was there?
T-ball league?
Oh, it's pesticide trainings, and Kane, what other trainings are related to the Parks and Rec?
Pesticide training, tree inspector training. I know that I had 2 employees go to pesticide training and tree inspector training this year. So I don't know why those totals are not reflecting that.
I have to look to see where those got.
Maybe they're colored.
Yeah. Because otherwise I'd like to drop those things down. We're not having that many people that we're training again, so.
Send them there, and that covers, I mean, that training is, they're all inclusive, like I said, the hotel, the food, the expense for the the actual training itself, so.
Why don't we just drop it to, instead of, because we raised it 15, why don't we just leave it at 3?
Yeah, I think I'd do that, 3,000.
Any thoughts on that?
I know the pesticide training was well over 1,500 per person. And then of course
You got it, right?
Is it annual or is it a lifetime thing? Or do you need?
it's annual recurring. There's hours that need to get completed every year. So I guess with this open position we have, there's 2/3 of it is going to be for this open position. So that leaves $1,000 for 3 other employees. It's cutting it close.
Let's just leave it where it's at.
Workers' comp again, that one's moved over. Anything else? And we go on to community center. Again, salaries, wages, benefits, all that stuff, put into, taken out of here. Cause that was part of the chunks that was divided up as to whoever was working, putting in time here, doing stuff. Got rid of that. So those were zeroed out. Supplies were at 4,600 for the year. So amended that up to 2,000 to 4,000. The work crews, Kane, did that not cost anything or no, we only had $120 on that one, I think, for the bringing those people in for Gold Rush.
Correct. We split that cost, the city and Gold Rush, for the 3 days we had them.
So we zeroed that one out this year.
Why'd the city pay the cost on that?
You know,
It's a Gold Rush expense.
We shared STS crews, Paul. They helped us do some city work
Yes.
as well as some Gold Rush work.
STS, thank you. That answers.
Okay, can we go up one other one where the supplies are? Okay, that increase, doubling the supplies.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm looking at where we were at in 2023, we were at $652. Okay, all of a sudden, we budgeted 2,400, but was this other part of Gold Rush that there was to come up with that 4662? What was in there?
Don't know, I'd have to go back and look.
Would you please check that? Because I mean, that's a huge jump, okay, of what's going on. I think that should be closer to the 2,000 instead of the 4,000.
Boiler insurance, property insurance, that got moved under our insurance stuff.
You know, went to 2,000, or when you said, okay, does that mean you're?
That means I'm gonna look at it and figure out what it
Check
is
it
and
out.
have to adjust it accordingly.
Extra pack.
So, but I've got a,
I just wanted to,
Yep,
when you
I've
said
gotta look
that,
at
I
it.
just didn't know what you were saying by that, sorry.
so,
Just curious, what are the supplies?
What I have to
Toilet
look
paper
at.
and.
cause it's a lot of, there's toilet paper, cleaning supplies, things like that. We get,
Chairs fall into it or what? I don't know.
could be a variety of things, anything that is.
Chairs, desk, file cabinets, all
Right.
sorts of stuff. We added a lot this year with the file cabinet room downstairs.
So,
Well, does all of our equipment numbered, like inventory? So when we know what we discard and what we purchase new and. Do we have it?
not to my knowledge.
We should have an inventory list of something, so we actually know what the city owns.
Yep.
If we had a finance person, that'd be a great job for them to do. So, boiler insurance and property insurance,
I don't think for a finance, administrative assistant, not a finance person,
I
but.
think a finance person would cover their money and cover that stuff, I think they would be.
I don't think so, I think that's a waste of money, anyway, go ahead.
Telephone expenses move where?
Yep, telephone expenses, I think they got moved under finance administration stuff there, we've 2,500 year to date. They kind of help cover the equipment here. Electricity bumped up, we're at 50, almost $6 grand this year for electricity. Keeping it at 5,500. Heating, reduced that down. We've significantly used less this year, but at 86 last year. We're at about $3,000. I brought it down to 5,700. Again, not knowing what the weather is gonna do or how old this building is with stuff. I know these windows do not retain heat at all. My office is freezing. Our offices are freezing already, so,
The new boiler did help out.
that it does heat up, but it's still the
No,
windows.
no, I'm just saying, but I
retain,
think
so
that did,
It's gonna,
what happened that,
yeah,
Well,
so.
we got 20,
oh yeah, windows.
so that's, we're on the buildings, right? R&M,
What?
we're on line 13, correct?
No, we're on heating.
We were on 13.
Went with heating, reduced it down 2,000, so.
Leaky roofs.
Yeah, so repair and maintenance buildings, this one was left at 36. There's been some stuff we've been looking at trying to fix, but I've been holding off because I'm trying to figure out where their budget's at for the year overall as a city, and I'm not gonna blow a bunch of money, but I mean, when we have rainstorms, we got leaking roofs that come in here and cause damage. We've got, I mean, there's a ton of stuff that could be repaired in here, and I'd like to see get repaired. And 36 is a drop in the.
I just know we had 23,000 left over and we still have a leaky roof and nobody's addressed it. I'm having a difficult time with that. To see, we have that number.
Well,
And nobody's addressed the leaky roof.
And in 2023, we had 30,000 there too. We only used 3,000. So that was a total of like 53,000.
I can blow through 23,000 by the end of the month. Don't you worry. I mean, I'll repair stuff around here.
I'm not asking you just to blow money.
No, it's not to blow
No,
money, it's to repair
No, my
stuff.
point is, you and I stood out here this year
Mhm.
and sit and watched that roof leak and nobody's even gone up to look, see what's leaking.
Paul, I've been on the roof.
Yeah, I had Kane go up and
And
look.
how did we address it? Is it still leak?
Well, that rainstorm was kind of an oddity. It blew into the cupola up above.
Mhm.
Now that cupola needs some major repairs. Right now, I spoke with Jason and we're just trying to figure out where the city is at year to date and then coming up with a plan of where we want to spend our money at the community center. That's always been a topic of not putting money into the building versus building a new building and a lot of big decisions where we want to go with this building. Like I said, it was an odd storm. The rain was coming sideways. My roof at home leaked. Very rare occurrence, that storm.
Several years ago, when we did the drop ceiling in that room upstairs, we were also looking at windows. Those are all single pane windows, and so we were looking at replacing those windows too. But we decided not to, so there's plenty of times and things you can. spend.
Windows need replaced up there, the blinds need replaced up there.
But let me ask, so we're talking about leaky roof. Was that a one-time occurrence or does it still leak?
I think that was a one-time occurrence, like Kane was saying, because the way the wind was blowing it in through sideways through that.
I think you could go out there,
Whatever it's
if you
called.
could go out there and look at the ceiling and that's not a one-time occurrence. It's happened several times over the years.
I would not disagree with that. But this year, this was a one-time occurrence with rain because of the way the storm was blowing it.
Yeah.
Was,
And I know it'll blow in them because I've got them on my shelf.
Yeah.
Um,
Could it blow in before too, somewhere?
But I would be concerned if the roof is still leaking and we've got money in our budget.
no, I
Or
haven't
the
had any
cupola,
leaks of
what we
anything
can fix.
since, at least from the roof perspective of that, so.
What are we doing with that? We're saying we're leaving it until.
I would like to be able to utilize.
Yeah, I think
that.
if we've got stuff we need to do, I think it makes sense to keep it
Because once
there
they
and see
start
what we
digging,
can do.
it could be an iceberg.
You're gonna comment this. Laney.
Well, yeah, it could be, I mean,
You know I'm gonna comment on 16.
So, okay, so leave that, pop expense, that's zero, that, I don't even know where that's from, to be honest, it's. Like,
so miscellaneous 11.
yeah, this, there we go. Miscellaneous was kind of the catch-all for stuff, we haven't really used a whole lot of it this year, like I said, it was one of those where if we had more significant damage. And repair and maintenance was gonna be needed, that's where it was gonna be coming from, was utilizing that, but held off with stuff.
You got quite a bit here. I think.
It would be reasonable to look at insulated blinds for your offices and the workers to get something in here. That might help reduce the heating as well.
11,000 was my last quote
For
for
insulated.
not insulated, just basic blind
Just
repair.
blind.
In just well, no, I think it was my office, those, and then these. So
What was that?
it was like 11,000 something for blinds to replace in my office, the office down here, and then these ones.
In-
as well.
Insulated.
Oh, I
And so
believe
those were,
blinds.
and those were
They're
regular,
just regular.
those were just regular
Oh, I
blinds.
believe it.
So I did have a quote and I was like, that's a lot, I can't spend that. So we're waiting. But-
1,400 on one.
Yeah, the blinds are, I thought blinds would be cheaper than they were.
They'll give them away, do they?
No.
Okay, so are we saying this 11 is staying?
We haven't got there yet.
Oh,
We just finished.
oh, I thought that's what you were talking about.
I was just saying that
This
this
was
was
part
got
of that.
88
Oh, okay.
and miscellaneous left because
Okay.
of blind space and it's not gonna cover
So
it.
basically, we got 47,000 there, we don't know what we're gonna spend it on.
21.
Well, I mean, like I said, we could. There's things within here. You know, I mean, you could look at miscellaneous too, was also one of those ones where it was okay if there was security cameras were part of the community center, would it be divided up there? And there was a whole lot of different thought processes.
30 cameras?
Yes, so, which I think was, initially was part of that thought process previous years, which is why it was budgeted almost 11,000. I don't know, that wasn't here for last year's budget, so I'm okay doing whatever with miscellaneous.
I would at least like it earmarked as something other than miscellaneous.
We're reduce it to 5,000.
Right. We can move to back to somewhere else, but earmark it for something else or move it down or.
Let's do 5,000.
I would drop it to 5. I'd be in
I'm
favor.
fine with that.
You've done a reading.
Oh. Thank you.
Yep.
Alright. Here's that. Okay, I'm fine with that. Alright. Next up,
So line 16,
Alright.
we're gonna drop it to 5.
yep,
Okay, thank you.
alright, so we'll boogie through, I am not scrolling, can't do my scrolling either. Grounds and maintenance moved to Parks and Rec, I think that was on here, so we can move past that one. Seasonal, again, not hired for 2025. For the seasonal ground maintenance people, we moved past that one. And EA. So again, salaries and wages, that was part of our stuff from the city side, removed all that, put that into where it should appropriately go with the people's wages. So you'll see that reduced down to 0. We've got our EVA contract for $32,000. Rebecca's been patiently waiting here. I thank you for patiently waiting. You want to talk about what you do, what you offer, what you bring, all that fun stuff, and what you've done so far for the city and will continue to do?
Yeah, I guess for this year, we will be having a annual report. We'll have our annual report for everybody every year. We just wait for the year end to take place first. We were contracted this year for 384 hours, so approximately 52 days worth of work. We were able to do our community engagement, project that was the initial project that, we got hired and contracted on to do. That included putting together, packets for 600 different mailers, as well as all of the data entry from that, all of the advertising, and the data analysis that we had to do for those, as well as the in-person event that we did. And we did a SWOT analysis for that with the 40 people that attended that event. And then we obviously had that 102-page report that is available online. We did a press release for that, so that went out to the community. And I believe everybody here got a copy as well. We were able to develop the bylaws that are required by state statute that we had to do. So we did have to draft those and get those approved. Initially, in the very beginning, when I was first hired on, I also was helping with getting some of these city council minutes caught up to date. So that was something that took away from some of those EDA hours in the very beginning. For the community engagement, I did write a grant application and we did get the entire thing paid for by Compeer Financial. So the city didn't actually have to pay anything for that entire process, including the supplies. We also were just recently received a small town grant for $10,000 for the community branding project that was requested. We've also drawn up an RFP now from scratch that we were able to get done. We're just waiting for the go ahead on that to get that out for branding. Been working with the city financial advisor. We worked on getting that training set up for TIF that most of you guys did go ahead and attend as well. We've been working one-on-one, having conversations for the King Commercial Development potential, the Hamilton Real Estate, as well as Age Friendly Orinoco, who we just got done helping to submit a $75,000 grant for them for getting park improvements that do include benches, walking paths, and a couple other items that are in there as well. So that we should be hearing about shortly. We've also been submitting all of our updates into the newsletter, the quarterly newsletter. And I know that our monthly reports are also in with your council packets each month as well. So I guess, do you guys have any questions about any of these specific items that we've been working on, or?
Just add one comment to that EDA work. We also have a 2025 action plan identified. It's a multi-page.
I have that here too.
And that'd be, I've asked to put that into the council packet for council's awareness. December meeting, so it's this multi-page, it's 3 or 4 pages.
It's,
Some of those
it's 4
items are
pages of what all we're planning to do for the whole next year. And then I guess also with the time that I spend, I also do all of the prep, minute writing, all of that. So that's all taken care of through that as well. But it doesn't just include just my services as well. It also includes the rest of the CETA team. It's a total of 13 counties and 42 cities and then about 7 different organizations that we help to run. So we utilize all of us together. If there's something I'm not 100% sure on, I write out to my team and the team comes back with that information. So we've got people with all sorts of different specialties that we're able to provide underneath that one umbrella.
So if I look at this, saying 32,000, and I understood in one of our initial workshops that it was 100 plus an hour. Has it changed? The hourly rate changed?
I know each year that they do release the rates, so I know that they do change on occasion. Yeah, I think they went up like 2%. I want to say.
Oh, went up. Because I calculate this at 32,000 at 384 hours is $83 an hour.
I was gonna say, because I think it's definitely under 100, I know, for.
Okay, because I understood it was like 126. So, I mean, I look at this and this is good, but I question $32,000. I know I see grants and RFPs, but I question if this is something that we need right now, given where we're at as a city and the expenses, what our residents would say. And is this something that we could pause for an instance and save some money?
I think we're starting the EDA. We're gaining a lot of momentum. I've been to their meetings. They're excited, they're energetic. And so to cut that support out from under them, cuts our EDA, it cuts the morale, and cuts the forward progress of the city. I think it'd be a horrible move to do that.
The enthusiasm that we saw at the community engagement, had everybody been there from the council, would have seen the need and the excitement it created, because we were asking for their input and it was very, very well attended. And I think we're looking at having a wrap up or another personal meeting here early next year to go back and share with the community what we have done as far as EDA. So the one big thing we haven't talked about is the next line item is a small business loan. And the 15,000, and that's a start of building a small business loan. Every city around us, of the, even the ones that they made reference to, the 40-some cities, small business loans are a very important aspect of EDA to help with the transitions with new developments. We look at Linda King and her property, each of those individual potential entrepreneurs and stores, they may come to EDA and ask for a transition loan. What that transition loan is, the idea was a 15,000. If we added every year, we get it up to $45,000-$60,000. We start loaning out small loans. Basically, what it's saying to the banker, where they ultimately get their financing, is that EDA and Orinoco saying this is something that's worthy of the city having, and that's a transition loan to help share that information with the banks and financing. So that's one aspect, and we have bylaws, we have our action plans. Within that action plan is to talk to each of the current business owners that we have in the city and introduce EDA to them and what EDA can help with other businesses and just make them aware of the EDA.
Have we done that?
No, it's in our action plan to do that in 2025. It's
Yeah, we've got
identified.
that to be starting in the beginning of the year, and we'll do one-on-one interviews, and then we'll also be logging all of that information into a database so that it's information that we can hold on historically, and build upon every year, every time you do a visit or somebody involves themselves in a program. And then also, Rylan, when it comes to a revolving loan fund, which is that startup type loan he was talking about, I have already been in conversations with the state, and we are able to apply for up to $200,000 to be able to start our pot for a revolving loan fund. So we do have some leads already on being able to get those funds that'll be available for the city and then reused over time then.
So I see it, you look at, we did this for 1 year and we didn't have any of this in front of us. And within the 1 year, the list of what we've done, I think is tremendous for what we've done with the 80-some dollars. You take that $80 figure, you take off 30% of that as benefits to that person that seat is paying that employee. And so the balance of that is what they bring to the city and just all the experience. And we're 20, 30 years behind everybody else, every city around us, because we've never had an EDA. Here's a golden opportunity. If we were somewhere else and look, our proximity to Rochester is just very advantageous to us. And I'm sure it's definitely a feather in our hat to be so close to Rochester. And I think this EDA is all part of that development to grow and grow in a way that is beneficial to all of our residents. It will help with our tax base, and it's a win-win. Really hate to see us stop it and restart it. And what does that tell our residents and tell us our business owners? We're not interested in developing, or we're not interested in helping our tax base.
Honestly, I don't buy that, because I don't think that would be telling our residents that we're not interested in growing our tax base. I really don't. That's my opinion. Do I think there are developers out there that want to come here? Yeah, there definitely are. And I'm not saying EDA is a bad thing, but I question is right now the right time to be spending this kind of money. I see the things on here. Yeah, there's quite a list. Some of these things are things that, I see grants. Our fire department writes grants. I get that, and I'm not downsizing or demoting what you have done. I'm just questioning the amount of spend that we're throwing at our taxpayers, including myself as a taxpayer. Is this something that
Officially so
That we
far,
can
it's
do.
about 20.
that we want to do right now?
With the potential of how much in the coming year?
We're looking at over 300,000.
So we brought
Potential
in
of what?
grants. So we brought in about $25,000 in grants this year because of CETA, with the potential of another 300,000 being brought in. That offsets the cost of having a CETA representative right there in my eyes.
You're not guaranteed the grant.
You're not, but we're more guaranteed having the backing of CETA. Because it's not just one person, it's an entire organization that's working on it. It's like a lobbyist, having a lobbyist in-house to help get these things.
And I get that, but you know, Jason, I'm gonna bring this up and I'm not stabbing you, but it really begs the question in my mind. At one of our meetings, you went at the fire department for writing grants. And this is writing grants, and I think it's great to get grants because that's money that is not out of our pocket. But it's okay here, but it's not okay at the fire department
Not correct.
to have them do it. You know what I'm
I'd like to
saying?
correct you. It's the communication of what they're writing. CETA communicates with me as to when they're looking at these and what they're doing. I don't get that from the fire department. That's the difference. I would love for the fire department to write $1 million worth of grants. Go for it.
I would
Get
too.
out there and do it. But let us know so we know what's going on. Not oh, hey, we got this. Here's the stuff. Start getting ready for it. Now I'm playing catch up with stuff. That's the problem I have with that.
But you're looking at a volunteer situation that there is versus somebody that's in here 1 day a week. If you had a fire department that was
Okay,
paid
you
to
can still
be in here 1 day a
communicate,
week,
they're gonna be
oh
doing
wow,
the
that makes a
grants.
difference on communication, I think. I think it
And-
really does.
And
They're working on the grant. It's a pick up the call, say, hey, obviously it gets talked about at some point. It's hey, this is happening. Send out the email. Hey, we're gonna start working on this grant for this. Okay. let
And
us
I
know.
agree. I mean, those things need to be communicated, but I just look at the grants. Cause we do have volunteers writing grants and I know bylaws are a big deal to write too. I just question the amount of our spend on this right now. Is this the time? And I know we pushed this through to get it started. And, you know, do we want this much of a spend right now, or is
Yeah.
there a way to reduce this a little bit? The 15,000, I'm not sure that
What were you
we can
saying?
afford to
Sorry.
be so
We're
charitable.
saying, like,
right
we
now.
could get you a copy of the updated rating sheets if you wanted to look at cutting back hours. If, I mean, not everybody, some people do 2 days a month, some people do it 1 day a week, some people do it 5 days a week. So it's completely customizable for you guys if you want to look at cutting back as well.
And again, I'm not saying this is
Oh,
a bad
absolutely.
thing.
Yep, absolutely.
I'm just looking at the overall spend, because now we're adding 15,000 into it.
How many small
And that was the biggest thing, out talking with people before the election. They're worried about the bottom line and what we're spending. So,
We had a couple of people come to the November meeting saying not to do it too, so. So
what was that?
we had 2 people show up at the November meeting saying not to do it, and I guess
I've heard both. I've heard a lot of both.
I've heard both sides. yeah.
And I was just asking around, do you know what's the average small business loan that we would give out? What is it, $15,000? What is that one business? Is that
Honestly, that's
sliding
not
scale?
not
Is that
gonna do a
not-
whole lot. It was just a place to start.
Okay.
But considering the fact that we are looking at going after that larger sum to try and get an established, a loan, like established loan program, that would have the funds to be able to do it, we certainly wouldn't have to do the 15,000 this year, and we could look at doing that in a future year if we are provided that additional one. 'Cause
That's not required for the
No.
grant that.
No, that wouldn't be required for it. That's just a way for us, we were just talking about different ways to being able to starting this fund and getting a place to start from. So that was kind of where that came from. But
Okay.
since we are looking at that in Minnesota Investment Fund grant, I mean, that 15,000 could probably very easily just wait for another year, or maybe we won't even need it.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, me personally, I would like to see that, you know, at a very minimum, see that weight. Cause I mean, we've put a lot on our taxpayers.
You know, yeah, I think we really have, and I know we need to grow on some of this stuff, but it's looking too, and, you know what the meeting's gonna be like in a couple weeks.
Well, that's where I was looking forward to seeing the numbers up there, changes we play, so we know where we're at.
Yeah, we don't have the, how soon could you get the rest of these final numbers out of this, Jason?
Well, I've got a week left with Renee to get trained in with stuff, so I'm busy doing that. I'm still running the city. We're coming up for meetings. I don't know. So I will work on it and I will get it out as soon as I can. But I can't give you anything more than
I
that.
kind of expected it tonight, because that's what we did last year. We sat and run through
We can
that.
see
They
the
changed
ticker.
it.
Yeah.
We changed everything as we went. We knew exactly where we were when we got done with the meeting.
Well, you had asked for that beforehand. I didn't know what was done last year because I wasn't here, so I might have been able to provide that, but
That part I understand.
we are where we are. So the last one here,
And let me just say a comment to that, Jason. The thing that I worry about with that, and I know we've got some constraints coming up, but the thing I worry about is here, we're gonna be at the December council meeting to approve this. And people will have not had time to absorb it and go through it and be able to give their input on this, because really, this is coming out of their pocket. And they're meaning mine as well, and all of us sitting here. I do have concern because we weren't around last year. What we got hit
Experienced
with
last
last year,
year, and it was not pleasant.
and
it was not pleasant, but you know what? It needed to happen. So,
We're in a much better place right now than
Right.
last year though, for sure. Like,
so if you'll look at your last page here, the comparison, you're gonna see from the preliminary budgets on the bottom to the amended one that was presented to you these last 2 days. We have seen a drop down in the general ledger, or the general levy, excuse me. A reduction in that, which is reduced the total levy, close to $150,000 to $200,000. So with that, we saw the tax rate drop from 52.4 to 47.3, which is a 5.7% increase from last year. And the total levy increase from 36.5 to 23.3. I know the total levy increase is a concern for people. We don't have control over the total levy. That includes everything, county, school districts, things like that. So some of that stuff is out of our hands. What I'm focusing on is our city taxes that we're collecting and how we're using that. So that 5.7% increase, which is a minimal increase. We're still the lowest in the region, the county, like we talked about in September when I presented that information. You know, we're still well under what anybody else is under in the region.
We're at a 23% increase in the tax levy.
Again, that's out of our control. That's the county, that's the school districts. There's more than just us in that.
No, no, it isn't. This 23% is our increase to that levy. It is not this, that is
The
not.
way it was explained to me was,
Somebody explained it wrong, because each of them has their own, they have their own levy for each of them. This 23.3% is what's coming from our papers. This is what we produce. We produced 36.5% back in September.
we do.
This is the number that we're dealing with. I could care less about the rest of the tax rate. It means nothing. The levy is what goes to the taxpayer. And we're at 23%, and last year we had people in here screaming, you could at least get it to 20. Here we're at 23 and we're in the same boat we were last year. It hasn't changed. Enough said. That thing's down about 12%. You're not gonna hear me, but it's been about what needs to be spent and what needs to be saved.
language, please. Anything else?
I do have one question. Where is our TIF in a different fund? The TIF that we pay,
Comes from the county.
but we don't show it in any of this. So we're saying we're not budgeting it.
Right, it's, my understanding of the TIF is that, the county collects the taxes from the database or the center of the property, and then they hold back, that TIF money. So what comes to our tax capacity, it's not included, so, and then they.
So it wouldn't show as an in and an out.
Right. That's the way TIFs, that's the way it was explained to us.
Interesting.
So if you want, just one comment, I would go back to the EDA. And I appreciate the 32,000, and I think, we look at, having our wastewater system in place, that is gonna draw people to us, so maybe it isn't right, this isn't the right year to start the 15,000. So one idea was just to hold off on that small business loan until next year and start it and just deal with our CETA contract. That's something the EDA could talk about at our meeting. I guess it's after the budget meeting, but that would be something to consider.
Well, and I think when we put that forward, the board
30%
knew,
off our EDA budget.
yeah, and the board knew that that wasn't going to be a given. It was just a request, so I'm sure that they would understand.
That's fine with me if we're gonna take the 15 loan out of it, but keep our contract at city at 32,000 budgeted item. Because there are, we talked about this age-friendly $80,000 grant. Well, that's gonna buy park equipment, hopefully, or trails or whatever the case may be, but that's also an expenditure that we're getting grant money that's not in our city budget.
But we don't have that. We haven't been given that grant.
No, we haven't.
So, I mean, that's like, pie in the sky, okay? Same thing, we were looking for the air packs that were off of the fire department. It didn't happen, and we thought we were in good shape to get that, but that didn't take place.
That's true. I
either.
can't deny that, but it does have, by having Rebecca here, she's the one that, age friendly is, we're nonprofit now, and we got that status. And so, but at the same time, we have, because we're associated with AARP, there's a ton of grants that are available through AARP. He provides that service for grant writing, and we're not having to.
No, and I appreciate that, I have to take a look at, what the average age is of our community, which is 36, okay? And so I look at that and, hey, I'm a retired person, I understand what goes on, but it's nice to have that, but I think that we have to take a look at where our community is growing and where things are at. And so I don't think it's as heavy as age friendly as what I think that we want to take a look at. I see it as being a younger community and things being spent for T-ball and some of the other stuff that there is more of what's in line with what this community is. And I think we found that out from what we got from the report of what's really going on.
Yeah, reports.
And what people are looking at, so. And when we looked at, we found with the services that there are with the age-friendly stuff of it, I mean, there's more services available than I ever realized when we turned around and did it. So I think we're in pretty good shape with that. But anyway, that's just my 2 cents worth of that.
I have been attending the Parks and Recreation meetings, a good number of those too, because there are things that they've been wanting me to take a look at as well, for basketball court upgrades, lights for the T-ball field, all that kind of stuff, so. There's
Been a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I think that's a very, very reasonable compromise to scratch the loan and consider that moved into that contract.
I guess one of the things I really want, throughout the whole budget thing we talked about here, is I just have a real difficult time with the unused funds that weren't used last year, that we're so quick to want to hurry up and spend it by the end of the year, when we could draw those funds forward to help cover some of the expenses of unbudgeted money could come forward to help fill the budgets of this coming year, and we're reluctant to even think about it.
Or just have an eye on what is that dollar amount?
What is?
We've never known that for any of the years before.
What is
Just
the
it goes
budget
into a hole.
surplus
Yeah.
from last year that wasn't used, should be brought forward?
I think we should have that information to know all that stuff.
It's hard,
Yep.
hard to approve.
Well, I think it's important. You bring out a good point, the explanation why we can't do that. Well, I'm sure there is, and I think that's, maybe we should touch base with her.
I know somebody's gonna come up with an explanation for it. But I'll tell you what, no matter the explanation, it's gonna come through some silly statute the state wrote. And it's gonna say that we can't do it because it's money that's already spent.
And I think that there's one thing that needs to be in here too, that hasn't been put in here, which is to go through, and have an audit that's done for, starting out with the fire department to find out where that money was or wasn't, and get it finished once and for all for the forensic audit.
Yeah, we need to decide where that's gonna. Was that budget line?
Yep.
Jumping back to economic, we'll take the 15,000 out. Is that okay?
I would say, let's try to reduce the hours a little
I
bit.
would also cut that in half. Yeah.
We can look at the 2 days a week, month, or whatever it is, but I just feel like it's a great ad for the city, and to pause it for a year. Then we run the risk of, well, should we continue it or not? That's just starting all over again. It's just, we got a year, decided to do it. Now we're saying, well, we're not sure we want to do it. I understand the reasons where you're coming from, but at the same time, there's value in that.
So we're already doing 1 day a week.
1 day a week. That's the current contract, yes.
Like one day every other.
And Jason, I can send you our
Still have an
2025
EDA.
rate sheet so that you have it.
Yeah,
Do you do 4 hours a week? Half a day at all?
I mean, no, but if you're looking at doing 1 day every other week, I mean, it'd be the same thing. I mean, essentially,
It is, which is-
you'd be getting the same number of hours.
It's hard to justify driving anywhere for 4 hours.
Right.
No matter what job you're
I
doing.
mean, because I live in Rochester and it's Orinoco, I would say yeah. Cause it's not like I'm, doing my hour and a half drive out to Spring Grove, so it's definitely more doable.
Mhm.
All right,
So I would look at it.
Jason, we appreciate what you can do to summarize what we've done the last 2 nights. And get that out to us. You'll definitely be in the packet, I guess.
yeah, I'll try to get it out before that.
Thank you for
Got
this.
an eye
This
to.
size.
I like
Thank you
that.
for
That was-
I really didn't think it was gonna print off that small when I printed the other day.
No, it was, and I tried to adjust it on my printer and I couldn't do anything. It was like either this or.
Well, it was because it was put into that PDF, and we tried doing that today to print it off, and I had to go back and get the other formats. We got it in right.
Are we adjourned?
I made a motion to adjourn.
Second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Approved at 7:51.